I seek the silence through the chaos and the noise.
They are wheel to wheel down the backstretch.
Sometimes it softly speaks, a whisper on the wind.
They are side by side, racing for the lead down.
Sometimes it's louder when your spirit rushes in like a free.
They are side by side in the turn three. This is going to be close. Here they come on track. The race left to make it. 5 inches. Now they make contact. Coming off turn 4. This is trailing back in the top 5.
This small town in mid-Ohio steps up big when the trucks come to town. It's Memorial Day weekend, and the fans are packing into Mansfield Motorsports Speedway. They're lining up to get in for great short track racing. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is presented by Craftsman. A gorgeous afternoon for racing. Quite a bit better than the past few days when rain actually shortened practice and eliminated qualifying. That makes the Ford point standings even more important today. Germain Racing duo of Todd and Ted continue their dominance. Terry Cook jumps up to 5th after a great Charlotte performance. And David Starr dropped a spot from last week, but he's our short track winner from Martinsville and has looked good in practice this week. He's with Chris Devoda.
Right, the last time we were at a short track, we left David Starr in victory lane crying after an emotional win. Your nephew was just born. We're back at a short track now, so can you have that same pit strategy and win this thing as well?
Well, I hope so. You know, Jamie Jones with the Red Horse Racing team has just gave me an awesome truck this week. My Toyota Tundra has been pretty awesome since we got here. Qualifying got rained out last night. It's going to be different conditions because the temperature today is much hotter than it's been in the last 2 days. So hopefully everything turns out good.
All right, we're going to let David Starr go jump in the truck for driver intros, so we'll let him go. And yeah, we were joking too, talk about being hot. This is our first sunscreen race of the year, so hot indeed. Ray?
Well, Krista, the weather is great here at Mansfield, but imagine if you were standing around down at Lowe's Motor Speedway and a guy by the name of Jack Roush came up to you and he said, "Hey, Augie Vidovich, will you drive my truck at Mansfield?" What would your answer be?
Hell yeah.
Oh, heck yeah, right? Okay, now here's the question. Today, you don't have a lot of experience in trucks. You got guys messing with you back here and people that are going to be coming up and ramming into your bumper. So how do you approach today's race?
I'm just going out there, keep the fenders on the Scott's Miracle Grow Ford that Roush is prepared, and do my best to keep out of trouble, get some respect, and just make laps and do the best I can.
We wish you good luck today. Augie Vidovich in his first race for Roush Racing.
Trucks in line. What a dream come true for Augie Vidovich. Getting to drive the 6th truck in Mansfield. Our 3rd visit to Mansfield, and it promises to be another fender-to-fender, bumping and banging short track race. Who will find victory lane today? Stay tuned. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is brought to you by Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears. Another great crowd on hand in Mansfield. Now, to start the season, we felt like our rookie class could be one of the best. Eric Darnell and Eric Almirola have risen to the top of the rookie points list. Almirola's passion and determination is making him a threat for Rookie of the Year.
The thing I'm most passionate about is waking up every morning and just knowing that I get to go to a race shop and see race cars with my name on the top of the door. It's an existing team, but trying to mend me into the situation. So it'll take some time, and I think we're moving along real good. I try to tap into every resource I got at the racetrack. I want to be the best that I can be, so I'll go to Ron, I'll go to Dennis Setzer, I'll go to Jack Sprague, and if all else fails, I'll walk over to the Cup Garage. I'll ask Tony or Denny or JJ. I think without a doubt, people who race Nextel Cup are the best. My grandfather used to race sprint cars. He was the driver. He's bought and paid for all the trucks, all the trailers, all the equipment, and he's been the biggest influence in my racing just because of the fact that he's done it. Every Saturday I'd go play baseball in the morning and then haul Bud over to the racetrack to go watch him race. I've had a lot of people tell me I'm one of the most determined people they've ever met. The fact that I've taken the initiative to pack everything up, everything I knew, everything that was comfortable to me living in Florida, and just take the big step and move to North Carolina and take a chance on a career. It was tough, but at the same time, it was one of the easiest decisions I've ever made in my life. To turn something that was meant to be fun into a job and it still be fun, that's what I don't think anybody can ask for anymore.
Aric Almirola really starting to come into his own. Started out Daytona not too good, but ever since then has improved his finish position all the way up to the last race at Charlotte. He's with Chris Devoto.
Rick, steadily improving 15 positions. That is the ground that Aric made up since the beginning of the year. So Aric, obviously you're a young guy, you're learning in this truck, but what do you attribute kind of that rise to? Are you getting better? Are you more confident? Are you learning the tracks? What is it?
It's everything. I guess it starts with the guys. Everybody back at the shop and these guys, Dave McCarty and all the guys on the Spears team, they just keep giving me better and better trucks, and I'm improving each week. This is a big learning curve for me, and I'm just excited about getting in these trucks every week. It's a lot of fun driving these trucks.
Hey, if you had to choose between winning Rookie of the Year or having some maybe some top fives in this truck, you know, if you had to pick one or the other, you don't get both, what would it be?
I'm gonna take both.
I told you don't get both.
I'd really like to win the Rookie of the Year, definitely, but more importantly, I just want to win races. I think these guys on this team deserve it, and they work awful hard, and we have trucks capable of winning, and I just feel like I need to go out there and get the job done. Our Spears trucks are great, and hopefully we'll get Chevy Silverado in victory lane here this weekend. All
right, good luck. Of course, that was a loaded question for Aric Almirola. If he gets top fives, he could just win Rookie of the Year, and he's already made up ground on Eric Darnell, just 11 points back here in race number 7. Ray, who have you got?
Well, Krista, another Chevrolet that I think you need to keep your eye on today here at Mansfield is the IWX Chevy number 16, and that'll be Mike Bliss. Mike, you were really good in all the practices we had here, but because we didn't get a chance to qualify, you got to start back in 12th. Any concerns about the traffic?
Well, it's hard to pass here, but I think once everybody gets time on their race car, you know, on their truck and the tires, I think the good trucks will probably shine on more. Than it'll be a little easier to pass. But in practice, a few days ago, a few times, 2 days we've been here practicing, it was really hard to pass.
If you're going to make a pass, will it be low side or high side?
I think a guy could go around the outside if somebody's down on the bottom, but I think it's going to be more of like a slide job just to get by.
Okay, a little dirt track, and that's Mike Bliss's specialty. We'll see how good that 16 is today, guys.
Well, thank you, Ray. Mike Bliss, and we talked with a lot of the crew chiefs earlier today, and they were talking about how Mike Bliss is the guy, he's class of the field.
Well, without a doubt, everybody said in each of the practice sessions that Mike Bliss appeared to be the truck that had the best consistent times overall.
And Aric Almirola, this kid is really coming on right now. It's just a matter of time before we see him in victory lane.
Without a doubt. He's very, very optimistic today, too. I talked to him just before we came on the air, and he said he had a great truck. He could really roll the center of the corner, and that's so critical here at Mansfield to get through the center of the corner, and he felt like his truck was excellent.
Those two crew chiefs have a lot of experience here driving those Chevrolets, and Dave Fuge has been actually a part of a winning team here with Jack Sprague the first year that we came at this track.
And then finished second last year and with the same team, IWX team, so his average finish is 1.5.
Unbelievable crowd on hand again. This is the third year in a row where spectacular crowds coming to watch some really great racing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Well, let's continue with our pre-race activities, and we go back trackside.
Are the Vietnam Veterans of America. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Michael White from the Ohio Graceway Ministries and the Church of God and Profession. I would ask everybody to please rise. Gentlemen, if you'd remove your head covers for the presentation of the invocation.
Please bow your head with me. Our Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for the beautiful day you have given us, Lord, to celebrate here in Mansfield, Ohio, this race. We're thankful, Lord, and allow the sun to shine down upon us. We ask you for safety, Lord, for each driver, dear God, and everyone involved. We just ask your presence to be with us as we celebrate this event this day. We honor you, we love you. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Michael. It is my honor to introduce Miss Leslie Shire, a Nashville recording artist, for the presentation of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave crews through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Beautiful Memorial Day weekend as we get ready for short track racing in Mansfield. They'll fire the engines next.
Move and show me what you can do when you step into the circle and shake like we do. And move when you just can't take it and move if you just feel like breaking. Can you move when you just can't take it and move if you just feel like breaking? I can't stop till my body drops, and you know I'm not gonna be the one to set it out. I clap my hands to the promised land, 'cause the promise came, yeah, the promise came, yeah, the promise came. Keep me till my heart caves in.
We're at the great little bull ring they call Mansfield Motorsports Speedway. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series City of Mansfield 250, presented on Speed by Scott's. Hello everyone, I'm Rick Allen alongside of Phil Parsons, and joining us today, Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer. First, Phil, let's talk a little bit about strategy. What's the word in the garage?
Well, Rick, as we heard Mike Bliss tell us a few moments ago, how difficult Mansfield is to pass on. All the talk in the garage area is how quick can they make their pit stops and make it the rest of the distance on fuel in order to have good track position. Some of the teams are talking about pitting as early as lap 30 and maybe as late as lap 75 in order to have enough fuel for the end and be in front when it counts.
So strategy when you come in, but Jimmy, when they come in, pit stops are kind of difficult here.
Yeah, you know, last year at this racetrack, we made a lot of mistakes. I don't think you can make a mistake and win this race. And pit road is very small. You know, we're on a small track. So, you know, when you make that decision, what you come out of there with tires or no tires is going to be critical. If you make more than one pit stop, I don't believe you'll be a factor in today's race.
So if there's a possibility of passing as many trucks as you passed last year, could you not make more than 2 stops and still win this race?
You still could, I think, if the handle goes away on some of the other trucks. And the thing is that certain guys, I think certain guys that's ran here before, short track experts, so to speak, a Hornaday, Timothy Peters, they might be able to challenge for this race by more than one pit stop. But I'll tell you what, Rick, it's going to be tough, especially with the tire. It's a different tire than we had last year.
Can you pass on the high side of this track?
You can pass on the outside. In fact, that's the premier groove, to get high in 1 and 2. And also you could pass in 3 and 4 on the bottom. You can pass at this racetrack. Yeah, it's a little tight. You can make it.
Well, some guys will move other guys out of the way if they want to make passes. We'll see that here shortly. But let's get today's command.
Now, let's get the command to fire engines.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time, and with great honor, I'm going to introduce again my friend and the great mayor of Mansfield, Ohio, Miss Lydia Reed, to give the most beautiful words in the sport of racing. Lydia?
Drivers, start your engines.
Let's go!
Lydia Reed, the mayor of Mansfield, Ohio, and we are going to come back with a look at the starting lineup for the city of Mansfield.
Engines are fired up, and that means that the drivers are all strapped in, and they have got what we would think would be the best seats in the house. They'll line them up, and we're going racing when we come back to Mansfield. And welcome back to Mansfield. How about the Aaron's Lucky Dog Dream Seat upgrade? Phil, these guys are moving from the seats to the suites, right?
They really are. Each race, Aaron's will pick a couple fans, the fortunate ones that are able to upgrade their seat all the way up into the suite. They started that at Charlotte last week. Michael was very excited about that, and they're going to do it here continually, and going to do it. Though there are the two people right there. They're going to go up to the suites.
So as they move up to the suites, let's take a look at the Framett starting grid for today's race. Up on the pole again, this was set by owner points. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave will make up row number 1, and we're being told Todd Bodine is actually going to start on the outside. He has the option. He can start on the inside or outside. He chooses the outside.
Yeah, the big thing is I think that's going to be an advantage on the start, knowing that he is going to have that high groove.
How about Augie Vidovich will start outside road number 2.
Wow, fourth career start for Augie Vidovich in the Truck Series, and he starts up at the front of the field.
There's Terry Cook on row number 3. What a great run he had at Lowe's Motor Speedway last week. Good runner-up finish for the second year in a row at Lowe's.
David Starr starting on the outside of row 4, and that will be an interesting move to see if he's able to make his way up toward the front. Again, his win this year was at a short track.
Yeah, this guy's not going to be here long, starting 18th there, Ron Hornaday. And Phil, you had said earlier about Eric Almirola, the key to this racetrack is going to be rolling that center of the corner. But the guy that I think is going to really come to the front quick, Mike Skinner, starting all the way back in 20th.
Yeah, a lot of talk. Timothy Peters is another one of the trucks that people are talking about being so good in practice. And how about Mike Greenwell?
Didn't he play football?
Yeah, for the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, well, that's baseball. There you go.
Isn't that Mike Gator Greenwell? Sure enough, that's Mike Gator Greenwell that's starting in the 08 truck today.
The two ladies, Kelly Sutton and Aaron Crocker. Aaron Crocker had a really good time yesterday, but is starting by points today, as we said.
There's Ryan Moore. He's a DEI development driver from the Busch North Series that's going to be driving the 40 truck for Curtis Key this week.
Those that didn't qualify, actually we didn't have any qualifying, but those who, because of points, will not make the show, Michelle Jourdain and Todd Schaefer. We'll ride along with a few different trucks, one of those being the 18 of Bobby Hamilton Jr. Now this truck knows how to win on this racetrack because Bobby Hamilton has a win previously on this track.
There's Dennis Setzer, the Evergreen Go Yellow Chevrolet. Dennis has 8 short track wins, starting 8th in a Chevrolet.
Here we go with David Starr, the guy that won the last short track race we were at. David's starting in a pretty good spot, and don't underestimate him today.
We're going to have an interesting ride along with Augie Vidovich today. He'll start 3rd again because of points, and he will ride with a camera for us today. Let's go down for Thoughts Before Green with Chris Devoda.
You know, this track is unlike any other. This race, unlike any other, so unique, not just because it's our smallest track at just a half mile, but also because it has one of the biggest followings. The crowds come from all around. In fact, there's train tracks that are just behind the front stretch. In the morning, you actually see the crowds of people just kind of appear out of what seems nowhere. They come in, they get to walk the track, meet some of their favorite drivers. You know, this is the only NASCAR sanctioned track that still holds a national touring series, the weekly racing series. So it's very big that big names like this race here because these fans also get to see some of their local favorites as well. Now, a lot of these fans that you see tonight, they're going to go to the Spring Barn Dance in Mansfield. They say, that's a big event, not even close to this NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. Ray?
Well, Krista, we heard Phil talk earlier about fuel mileage and when they're going to come in and get the fuel that they need to go to the end. Now, I think today it may be Toyota's advantage. When we look at the racetracks where we have lots of cautions, Mansfield, of course, at the top of the list. We expect 13 cautions today for 80 or maybe 90 laps. But realize there's 20 guys in the field today that have never raced here. That breeds cautions. So the guys want to get to pit road earlier. The Toyotas may have the advantage because they get the best fuel mileage. They can come in as early as lap 30. But guys, I'm here to tell you, in my opinion, it's the people who come in at lap 60 to 70 that are going to have the real advantage because at the very end of the race, they'll have the best tires. Guys?
And that obviously is another strategy. We heard so many different strategies, but the underlying strategy that really came out, I think, was How early can you get in for your one stop?
Some of the drivers were telling me their fastest laps, they ran around 120 or 130 lap tires. So if you add in, you saw the graphic, 37 laps, 37% of these laps are running to caution. That's only 150 or something 150, 160 green flag laps. And if they run their fastest lap on lap 130, then these tires are going to last a long time.
Yeah, Phil, naturally the crew chiefs already know sort of what they're playing, but the thing is that what happens with old tires, the air builds up. Well, even though you put new tires on, you have less air in the tires. I don't think it's an advantage because in 6 or 8 laps, your tires are back where the other guys is. Bottom line is, I don't think you could pit real late in this race and win. I think the truck has to handle really good. You're going to see them make big decisions on when they pit, the adjustments they make to their truck, and the guy that handles the best will end up winning this race.
Officials letting them know next time by we will go green. Short track racing continuing in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
You know, we talk about horsepower and aerodynamics and things like that, and you throw all that out the window. Yeah, you have to have horsepower, but it's not nearly as critical. This is the shortest racetrack these trucks will run on this year. This is where you really need to handle. As Jimmy said, you've got to get that truck going the opposite direction in the corner. That's the guy who's going to be tough to beat.
And we're going to see the high groove, or we say the high groove. They're going to run up a little bit higher on this track, but guys will try to, what in the dirt track world would be do the slide job, where come into the corner real low underneath and then move up the track in front of the driver.
A big thing is a lot of intimidation, Rick. We're going to see a lot of guys really trying to squeeze each other today.
We're going to see it right now as they come out of 4. We're racing at Mansfield. Todd Bodine chose the outside line for his start. It looks as though it's going to work for him. He gets out in front of Ted Musgrave. Right behind them, it's David Rudiman. So Toyota, 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 your top 3.
Had some 3-wide racing back there. Ron Hornaday was right on the bottom of the racetrack. I remember last year here, in addition to this week, he's tried to work the bottom of the racetrack. He wants to make his truck work on the bottom because if you're going to pass, you better do it on the bottom.
3 wide once again, coming off with Hornaday and with Skinner, Krisiloff. You know, this guy here, Skinner, had a good truck. We got one little loose there, but Skinner's moving up quick.
Tight confines of short track racing, and this is one of those tracks where we talk about Martinsville as a comparison, but this one has short front stretch and back stretch and pretty wide banking corners here.
A little shot right there. Looked like Eric Almirola gave Ron Hornaday a little shot. We're going to see a whole lot of that, but you're exactly right. A little bit shorter straightaway than we have at Martinsville. We call Martinsville a paperclip. This track is shaped a little bit differently. There's a track in North Carolina called Orange County that's shaped a lot like this racetrack with a little bit shorter straightaway yet.
We already see the top 3 trucks here with Todd and Teddy and Rudiman pulling away, and it's because they've got the clean track. What they're doing is they're already working that high groove. We see how much higher they all are already than we were, say, at the last short track, Martinsville.
Dennis Stester started back in the 8th position. He's already moved up to 4th. You always have to look at Dennis Setzer as one of the threats to win.
Slow truck, though. We've got Johnny Benson, and right behind him, Craig Kinzer gets spun around because he couldn't tell that Johnny Benson had slowed. He slams on the brakes, and he gets into the wall in turn 1.
Yeah, it looked to me like, Rick, something happened to Johnny's truck in turns 3 and 4. He was high on the racetrack, looking like he was trying to get to the bottom, and then Kinzer just, got a little loose right there.
Ray, what was going on down there?
It was a flat tire on Johnny Benson's truck, and as he tried to get to the high side, Kinzer had already committed to go high, and that just left him out there in the middle of nowhere. But Johnny Benson needs to get to the pits with his 23 Toyota because he has a flat tire on the left rear.
Now, obviously, at lap 6, this is way too early. Obviously, nobody's going to come in. Could they even tell that their handling is bad?
Rick, let's take a look back at what happened here. You see Johnny slowing way slow there on the outside of the racetrack. Craig Kinzer came in there. He saw Johnny. Looked like he locked the brakes up, Jimmy, and slid the rear tires, and that turned him around.
Yeah, what I blame this on here, Phil, is the spotter. This kid's a rookie. He needed to warn the driver that, hey, we have a problem up here with the 23 truck, and he did not do that, I believe, and I think that's what caused this guy to spin out.
So coming off pit road, Johnny Benson, the 04 of Scott Legacy Jr. also making a stop, and Craig Kinzer in for work. We'll be back to Mansfield after this. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed is presented by Scotts, Ortho's season-long grass and weed killer. One application kills and prevents weeds all season long. Brought to you in part by Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears. And by Team Chevy and the 2006 Monte Carlo SS, now with the legendary small block V Chevy. American Revolution. Ray Dunlap.
Well, guys, I was wondering whether Johnny Benson got run into by somebody to get that flat tire, but he said on the very first lap that it just didn't feel right. So it was a left rear. Now, JB came in, put left sides on. You go back out to the racetrack, make another lap, then come down and get rights. That's the way you got to pit here because it takes so long on pit road. Krista?
Kinser obviously still a rookie, so yeah, he's learning this track, but more so than any other driver because they did not get to take any laps in happy hour. They made contact with Augie Vidovich in that 6 truck in yesterday's first practice. So Craig Kinser, they had to bang out some damage, sheet metal damage in the truck yesterday. They had to do the same here when Craig Kinser came in. He took left side tires only. He has a lot of damage on the left side.
So he did get into the wall on this accident. Again, this brought out our first caution of the day.
There's another view of it right there. You see Johnny moved way up high out of the groove. But Jimmy, as you mentioned, Craig Kinser came in there too hot and he locked the rear brakes up, slid the rear wheels, and around he went.
Yeah, you know, the thing is now, Phil, with the damage that he's got done, it doesn't look that bad, but it's enough. The toe end's all knocked out, left front fender. He's going to be in for a long day.
Really sets the pace, doesn't it, Jimmy, as far as if you got a problem early on?
Very true, man. Long day.
Todd Bodine takes the green on the restart. Right behind him, teammate Ted Musgrave in the number 9, Team ASC Toyota. And then it's David Rudiman, also in a Toyota, and moving up quickly, that Chevrolet of Dennis Setzer, the 85 Chevrolet, currently running in 4th.
We saw Ted Musgrave glance underneath Todd Bodine. Had he made that move to try to get under Todd, David Rudiman was ready to pounce on him, drive to the outside. It makes it a lot easier to pass on the outside here because this racetrack is progressively banked. There's more banking up at the top of the racetrack. That's why the groove's up there.
More rubber being put down up on the high side of the track, and that's where it looks like a freight train right now going around this half mile.
Got a good battle right there. David Starr looked to the inside of Dennis Setzer last time by in this corner. Let's see if he can drive up into the inside. See, it's hard to get a bite down there. It's a little bit flatter. You see him. He does a great job. He pulls up almost even with him. But the outside groove, has more banking, and he's able to carry more speed through the center of the corner. Very, very difficult to pass on the bottom.
In practice yesterday, David Starr tried the same move on Aaron Crocker, got on the inside right there and got sideways and had to back way off. And so apparently he's got something with the handling of that truck a little bit better because he's going to make the pass. Going down the back stretch, they're side by side.
This is going to be big here, 3 and 4. I think he can get the jump he needs off of 4. The bottom side of 4 right there is a lot better. As you see, he prevails with Dennis.
A lot of the talk in the garage area was how good David Starr's truck was. He was one of the 2 or 3 trucks all mentioned all the time about how good he was.
Well, now that restart, we also see the field closing up a lot closer. We don't see the pull away from the first three trucks getting away from everybody. Right now, they're all pretty close.
Again, coming up on lap 18. On the restart, Todd Bodine was able to get out and hold on to the top spot, but it's been the move of the 11 truck of David Starr that has been the impressive one on the short track ace.
I predict some action coming, guys, because this 07 truck of Turner, he has got a gigantic gap between the Bobby Daughters 08 and 07, almost a full straightaway, Phil. Todd Bodine is closing quickly to start lapping some trucks here.
There's Bobby Hamilton Jr. on the inside of Augie Vidovich. Bobby Hamilton Jr., really all the Bobby Hamilton trucks were talked about as being very, very strong. Bobby Jr., Timothy Peters, and Scott Lagasse Jr.
Now as they go through 1 and 2, the front of this field, they're starting to catch up to the slower trucks on the track. So we're going to see lap traffic come into play here very soon as Todd Bodine has his windshield full currently of the number 1 of Robert Richardson.
There's David Starr looking to get by David Rudiman. David Starr looks to be the best car on the racetrack right now. He was able to get by Dennis Setzer, which is no small feat on a short track, and now he's trying to get by the 17 of David Rudiman.
The big thing about David's truck is that his truck just rolls the corner and comes off straight as an arrow, Phil, and that is an advantage today.
Ray, does he sound like he's having a good time with that truck?
Yeah, he's real happy with it, guys. And remember, when we ran at Martinsville, we all thought they were crazy for staying out so long in that Red Horse Racing Toyota. But guess what? It was actually a little bit of a mistake. They had hoped to come down to pit road, and a miscommunication made them not pit. and then they were 22 laps short on fuel at that time. But as there were more and more cautions throughout the race, it ended up that David had enough fuel to get to the end, and they stayed out. The big question today is, does the 11 truck pit at all here at Mansfield?
Ray,
I think they have to.
I cannot believe that somebody can make it 250 laps, or even with the amount of cautions that we expect to have. 250 laps, I mean, that's 110 or 15 miles. That's unheard of in a Craftsman truck.
And Phil, normally they get anywhere from, oh, we got a caution coming back out, our second caution now.
Might have been a problem with the 21 truck of Bobby East. He was slow on the backstretch.
Well, the blessing was that, you know, from the 07 once again, Aaron Crocker and these guys, they were so close to being a lap down. Here we go with what might have happened here. Oh, he got some help right there. He got turned. Somebody tried to get up underneath him. He was already 3 wide. Looks like a black truck, number 15.
Kyle Krisaloff there. Looked like they made a little contact, but you're going to see a lot of contact here. Rick, as you mentioned in the rookie meeting, Wayne Auten, the series director, said you're going to be hit. You're going to do some hitting. You better get used to it.
Yeah, that's the short track racing.
No damage there, guys. So I think he's going to be fine right there. You know, he didn't hit anything. New tires and fuel.
Second caution comes out. Mansfield, Todd Bodine still up in front of teammate Ted Musgrave. David Rudiman, David Starr, your top 4. Welcome back to Mansfield. The Aaron's lucky dog going to Craig Kinzer in the number 46. Again, he had the spin, our first caution that came out.
While we were away, the 60 truck of Jack Sprague, the Conway Toyota, came in. Now, Ray, you think this is going to be his only pit stop? You think he's going to try to make it from lap 29 when he came in? That's 221 laps. What do you think, Ray?
Yeah, Phil, that is definitely their plan here. They were hoping to get to lap 40, which gives you that good cushion if we have a green-white checkered. And there's a very good chance we will, because our first 2 races here both ended that way. But they said, look, we don't want to take a chance. You got to do what the other guys don't do. So coming in at 29 is going to put them right on the edge of their fuel mileage. They're hoping we get 80 to 85 laps of caution, and they'll be awfully close.
I tell you, I like that strategy. Tony Fury and the guys say, what? Let's make something happen.
But you know what? That's counting on 80 laps of caution. Even though it's happened in the past, you really can't rely on it.
Well, you can't rely on it, and they always obviously have the option of coming in. You know, if we go 75, 80 laps with no caution flags, then they obviously have an opportunity to come back in if they feel like, well, we're not going to get enough caution laps. We're going to have to come back in. But then they'll be in the same boat as everybody else, because that's when they're going to be able. The rest of the teams are going to be able to come and make their pit stop.
Right, and we don't want to count anybody out as far as stopping once or twice, because Jimmy, you stopped numerous times last year, and you really had one of the best trucks on the track.
Yeah, but I don't think his truck is as good. I think that's why he stopped early and go back to green flag. Teddy Musgrave constantly is using that bottom groove coming off of 2, and it seems to start to come in there, because we also see the 11 truck doing that.
David Rudiman looked to the inside of Ted Musgrave there coming out of 4.
We see that so many times. We saw Rudiman look to the inside. It's a little flatter down there, remember, and he got a little bit loose. It's hard to get on the, oh, David Rudiman made a little contact with the outside wall there coming off of 2.
Here we are in the Red Horse of David Starr. This truck, just notice how that 17 truck is slipping and sliding there. Watch this 11 truck. Here's the 17 bobbing a little bit. The 11 truck just straight as an arrow, just not moving at all. He is going to be a factor today, already in 4th. This is cool right here, baby. I love that stuff right here. Good car. You can't beat it.
Makes you feel like you're actually driving again.
No, I wish I was in it, man.
Some great side-by-side racing here.
Here's the 46 we said.
Craig Kinzer again.
Craig Kinzer. He might not have as much damage. They might have adjusted again on that caution. He's trying. There he is, racing hard again. Him and Joey Miller.
He's getting some more damage right there from Joey Miller. Remember, he got the Aaron's lucky dog, so he's back on the lead lap with all his troubles in that early spin. He's back on the lead lap.
Fresh tires too, Phil. So, you know, the kid's getting aggressive. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We're short track racing. He's got to get going.
You mentioned fresh tires. They've talked about these tires being a little bit harder than what probably the track really needs, as far as they could probably go the whole race.
Well, I think Goodyear definitely overreacted. They brought way too hard a tire. I think we're going to see that tomorrow night at Charlotte also. And I think that, you know, sometimes that doesn't make for good racing when you get so conservative. and then the field can all be the same speed.
But remember, in their defense, they thought that there was going to be a repaving job. Good side-by-side battle. Rick Crawford, the 14 circle bar truck on the outside. That's Mike Skinner's Toyota on the inside. Again, Mike Skinner, that's the hard way to do it on the bottom of the racetrack, but he's able to stay right with Rick. Let's see if he can beat him down to turn number 1.
That's the same move David Starr made earlier, and it prevailed, and it looks like he's going to do it again, Phil. The 5 truck and 4, what a great race.
Side by side into 3 and 4. Ray, how's Skinner doing?
He feels really good about this truck, and of course he should. This is chassis number 70, and this is the truck that Skinner used a year ago at Richmond to win with. Actually, when they go short track racing, he really loves this one. Skinner told me before this thing started, there's no way he can pass on the high side. He's got to be tucked down to the white line.
So he made the proper pass there. As far as the only place he can go is on the low side. He was able to get by on the low side.
But they made a little contact, though. They were side by side here, right? Watch them to come off turn number 4.
Caution again, though. Kelly Sutton has gotten spun around out of turn 4.
Yeah, I've got a spin. Kelly Sutton, as you mentioned, spins off of turn number 4. It doesn't look like she made any contact with the inside or the outside wall.
Tough position, too. Kelly Sutton came and spun around and had driver's side door right there facing the drivers as they were coming out of turn 4. So a tough situation. Everybody able to negotiate around her.
Got a lot of damage to the left rear. Looks like she probably got some
back.
help. Yeah, the left rear corner there. Probably got some help. I'm sure, yes, it does. It looks like she got pounded from behind.
We're 42 laps into this thing. Pit road is not open yet, so I think people are definitely getting towards their window. I've heard again anywhere from 30 to 75 laps in, people felt like they would be in their window.
This could be the time when we will see the majority of the field come down pit road. And if they do, we'll be here to show it to you. Short track racing, bumping and banging, continuing in Mansfield.
They're all.
Welcome back to the City of Mansfield 250, presented on Speed by Scotts. A few of the drivers did come in, Phil, as far as some of the field came in on that last pit or the last caution.
They sure did. We had 13 trucks come down pit road. Krista, what did some of them do?
Matt Crafton in the 88 had a great stop. They took 4 tires. They wanted to get some more lap traffic behind them. That's why they didn't come in on that earlier stop. They also took a half count out of the right rear, but also a great stop for number 85, Dennis Setzer. He was complaining a little bit about a tight condition. They went 1 round up on the track bar. Dennis Setzer, we all know he's a short track king. He's looking to continue to move up in points, right?
David Starr came in his Red Horse Racing truck on lap 44. They put 4 tires on it, but no adjustments. Now for Johnny Benson, who had pitted earlier on lap 6, he came down to get fuel, but no tires. So Johnny Benson good to go to the end.
So Johnny Benson with his strategy coming in, having work done on that number 23. Problems, Kyle Krisloff got off the wall a little bit slow there. That slowed him down. We see the black truck on the outside.
The 21 of Bobby East and the 15 of Kyle Krisloff made some contact. They made actually, whoa, there's some more contact. That's Aaron Crocker, the 98 Cheerios truck, makes some contact with Kyle Krisloff. He must have some sort of problem.
He's going to come to a stop. This is going to bring out a caution.
Let's see what happened to him before. You see, obviously, Bobby East on the inside, the 21 truck. The 15 truck kind of moves down a little bit. He didn't go quite as high as the 21 of Bobby East thought. They made some contact, and then you see the 98 just caught a glimpse. She was going to make some pretty significant contact with the 15 of Kyle Krisloff. He undoubtedly probably has a flat tire, and he stopped on pit road. NASCAR is going to, on the racetrack, NASCAR is not going to like that too much.
That's a penalty, Phil.
Yeah, that's going to be a penalty for intentionally causing a caution flag, I would think.
Yeah, that's definitely a penalty without a question. There was no need for him to do that. I think he might have thought he had a flat tire, but NASCAR will take care of that here. But the 98 did hit him pretty hard, and she did a good job saving her truck, but he unfortunately hit the fence.
David Ruderman is coming down pit road right now. He was a 3rd place truck when the caution came out.
Augie Vidovich as well as Mike Skinner coming down pit road also. So a few more trucks are making their way down pit road as we've completed 51 laps of racing.
Steve Parks also in the Harris Trucking Dodge. Or that might be a Ford. I mean, they change brands all the time, though, right?
They do. They run Fords and Dodges. But there's David Ruderman in.
Looks like he's putting some tires on.
Ray,
Yeah, Rudeman was really tight in the center of the corner, so they wanted to make an air pressure adjustment and a track bar change. It's going to be, well, they got a hang up over on the right side rear, but they've already got the left side tires taken loose. So when the jack man comes over, they got to be standing there. This is going to be a long pit stop here. They're going to have to be very careful to be able to watch for the pace truck. They go to the left side now on his Tundra, and they're going to go ahead and get him on. He'll be okay. At the same time, Mike Skinner was down pit road here to get 4 tires.
Huggy Vidovich also came down, and Skinner raced him off of pit road there, and looked like Skinner wants to take that position away coming off pit road.
That's all fine and good unless the yellow light comes on and said he was speeding on that last segment. That happens so often. It's the first segment coming in the pits and the last segment going off pit road. That's when the guys get busted for speeding.
Notoriously known for cautions at Mansfield. We've had 4 so far. How many will we have? 13 have happened before. Mike Bliss moving around the 77 of Brendan Gaughan on this restart. We see Rick Crawford forcing his way up on the inside of the 77. This is side-by-side short track racing.
And that's how you're going to have to do it to pass. You're going to have to force your way by.
You got to utilize the bottom groove, Phil. You're so right. It isn't easy to pass down there. But we're seeing it start to come about. We're starting to see more and more trucks moving down lower, getting in and getting off the corners.
Yeah, if you're gonna pass anybody here, you better get your truck working on the bottom of the racetrack. We've seen a lot of guys try it. You see Mike Bliss get a little sideways in the center of the corner. His truck right now is over-rotating. That's what Dave Fuge told me, that they were fighting a little bit. It was over-rotating in the center of the corner. Ray, what's going on with the 16?
Hey, Phil, Mike Bliss just came on the radio and said, with all these cautions, maybe we should just stay out and go the distance and not pit. And his owner, Dave Fuge, said, absolutely not. We'll never make it on fuel. The Chevrolets have a disadvantage. He said those 2 up front might decide to do that, but we can't. They will definitely pit the next time we get a caution.
Yeah, Ray, you're exactly right. I was talking to Dave Fuge before the race, and he was one of the guys that was talking about 75 laps. He wanted to get 75 laps in before he stopped, but he is running a little higher gear, Jimmy, than most guys. He's got a 650 gear. That means his truck will turn less RPMs and theoretically get better fuel mileage than a lot of the other guys that are running as much as a 667 rear end.
Well, I think that he would love to stay out, but like you're saying, his car owner's saying, no way, we can't make it on fuel mileage. But being a driver, I don't want to give up 3rd position on the track.
Well, at some point in time, I think you've got to understand you're going to have to pit here.
Well, I'm thinking the 30 and the 9 could possibly make it the whole way. I really believe that some guys are going to try to do this, because I believe that Mike Hillman would have pulled his team in by now, so he might be the one that takes the shot, Phil.
Jimmy, I don't think so. As well as they're doing in the points, as many races as Todd has won, as good a season as Ted have, I don't think they will take that gamble, because their trucks are good enough to win this race without taking a gamble on trying to run 250 laps on 1 tank of fuel. I think the next time the caution flag waves, you're going to see the 30 of Todd Bodine, the 9 of Ted Musgrave, and the 16 of Mike Bliss on pit road.
It'll be follow the leader. I mean, Mike Bliss will probably use the same strategy as the guys in front of him, unless he gets in front of him.
And right now, they're the 3 best trucks. You know, they are first, second, third, but yet they just are really racing, and they're also pulling away from the rest of the field just consistently. So, yeah, you're probably right. They might do it. But don't underestimate it. If they think they can make it, they might.
Consistent laps, always running about 17 seconds flat around this half mile.
We had Bobby East that time running 16.96. That was only a 1/10 of a second off the fastest lap anybody has run this entire race. Remember, Bobby is one of the trucks that stopped early on.
Eric Darnell moving up in that number 99. We talked about the rookies race and Eric Darnell and Eric Almirola. Eric Darnell still leading the rookies points race right now.
Actually, Bobby East is not one of the trucks that stopped. He started in the 15th position, and he's made his way up to the 5th position. Obviously, some of the trucks in front of him have stopped, but he is on the same tires that he started the race on. He's got a great truck right now. You see 3 Fords lined up. There's the 14 of Rick Crawford. There's Bobby East right there. You see him back in 18th on lap 13th, back to 20th on lap 26, and he's already made his way up to the 5th position.
And don't forget, he's the fellow that spun out on the back straightaway. So, you know, that truck evidently doesn't have any damage, and he is moving along here pretty well. But the guy that I'm seeing struggling is the 77 truck of Brendan Gaughan. He was up about 5th or 6th spot on the restart, and he's just being passed consistently on the outside by everybody. So having a lot of problem. And you know, Ron Hornaday here and Dennis Setzer, he just got around the Hornaday in the 33. Dennis seems that he runs well on these short tracks.
And Dennis Setzer, one of the trucks that came in on the last caution, and so he and as well as Ron Hornaday working their way up toward the front probably have made their last stop. They won't come back in again. They're racing for position.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dennis Setzer, obviously their pit strategy is good. They didn't stop quite as early as some of the other teams like Jack Sprague and Joey Miller, people like that, but they did stop earlier than David Ruderman and in the 6 of Augie Vidovich and Mike Skinner, also Steve Parks. So all kinds of differing pit strategies right here. But again, Jimmy, now we're 72 laps into this race. I think everybody will be in their pit window. When the caution flag comes out, all those trucks that have not pitted, I think you're going to see them on pit road.
You know what I'm noticing, Phil, is awesome racing. 2 wide racing, a lot of passing. I like the idea of the pit strategy. I like guys pitted, other guys didn't. Fresh tires, not fresh tires. What's my truck doing? Aaron Crocker's running a good race right now. You know, and the big thing up caution here, the 07 spins out, turn 4.
Robert Turner in the 07 got spun around, and now the field will try to go around him.
I think we're going to see that Aaron Crocker made some contact with Robert Turner. You were just talking about Aaron Crocker and what a good job. And she dove down the turn number 3 on the inside of Robert Turner, and they made a little contact, and around he went.
She's up to 7th, Phil. And I'm thinking that truck, they were lapping that truck of Turner.
No, he was on the lead lap. He was, but there was a gap, as you mentioned earlier, about 40 or 50 laps ago. There was a gap in front of him, and whenever you have a gap in front of you, you better realize that your back bumper is going to get beat on.
No
because
question.
Nobody wants to see a gap.
You're right, Phil. And he did have a big gap there earlier in the race, and then you're probably right there. You know, the thing is that Aaron Crocker's impressing me today as being aggressive. Finally, this is the type of racing she's done. And now we're going to start seeing pit stops again.
The 9 and the 30 stayed out, Jimmy. Mike Bliss, the 14 of Rick Crawford, the 99 of Eric Darnell.
They're not pitting, so I can't believe this.
They're going to pit, Jimmy.
Nope, I don't believe they're going to pit. I believe they think they can make it the whole way.
Let's go down to Chris Dabota.
Well, the 14 of Rick Crawford is coming in. He pulls his Ford into his pit stall. I asked his crew chief, Cowboy Starlin, hey, when this next caution comes out, will you come in? He looked at me and shook his head. Yes, he will. And now they had to because they have a little bit of left rear sheet metal damage. They're pulling it away a little bit, making a 4-tire stop. Also, something wrong with the number 77 of Brendan Gaughan. He is very heated on the main line. There's something wrong with his truck. He doesn't know what it is. To Ray in the 16.
Krista, Mike Bliss comes in. They put 4 tires on it, a little bit of hang up on the left rear here. They will get the tires on, and he will go back to the racetrack. Guys, you were asking me about the 9 and the 30. I just went up to both of their crew chiefs, and I said, when are you going to pit? They said, oh, sometime around the halfway point. Sounds like a big bluff to me.
They wouldn't lie to you, would they, Ray?
I think they already have.
We've heard that before. Some people holding their strategy a little bit closer to the vest.
Kelly Sutton.
Aaron's lucky dog going to Kelly Sutton. We'll be right back with more short track racing.
Welcome back to Mansfield. We are truck racing today, and Mike Hillman Jr., you guys have not pitted yet. You told me you might come halfway. I think you're bluffing. Are you guys not going to pit today?
Oh, we're going to pit. We're just playing a little different game here. Maybe I should have been here the last 2 days. I might be a little confused compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I think that is definitely it. He is telling us that we're going to pit, but boy, I'm not sure. Krista?
Some major trouble with Brendan Gaughan in the number 77 Dodge. He's complaining of an electrical arc. That's how he describes it. They're checking for a loss of power somewhere in the cab of that truck. They've checked the ignition box and the plug wires. They don't seem to see it there. They're not sure where that electrical arc is coming from. They came in. They actually had some miscommunication on the radio, too. Brendan wasn't sure if he was going to come in. His crew chief, Tony Liberati, brought him in. The guys on the crew had tires over the wall. They didn't need those. They just needed to put the hood pins back in the hood. So definitely a loss of power for the 77. Ray?
Well, Krista, you heard Mike Jr. say that he wasn't here the last couple of days. Here's the reason. His father-in-law, Jimmy Lee Haggard, passed away this week. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his wife, Jennifer, and the entire family.
We got an interesting situation here. We've got a lap truck of Kyle Krisloff, the 15, and he's right in front of our third place truck of Bobby East. Remember, these are the 2 trucks that got together that caused Kyle Krisloff's problems, so it's going to be interesting to see how much room he gives the 21 of Bobby East.
A little wiggle there for Kyle Krisloff as he was going through turn 2.
the thing is, Phil, is NASCAR did penalize him a lap. He did lose one on the racetrack, and he lost another one because NASCAR held him for what they deemed stopping on the racetrack. So it is interesting. He is definitely in front of the 21, and that is not a place I don't think 21 would like to be.
Well, and he's slowing down right now, the 21 of Bobby East, because before Bobby East was able to stay right on the rear bumper of Ted Musgrave and that Team ASC Toyota. And now there's a big gap between Ted Musgrave and Kyle Krisiloff.
There's our 10th place truck right there, David Starr, the Red Horse Racing truck, right behind the 23 of Johnny Benson. Johnny's made a nice recovery from that early flat left rear tire in a top 10 right now.
He's the third truck in line that pitted, Phil. You know, so he's the third one. We had the 60 pitted. We have the the 23 pitted and 11. So these three guys have set their tempo. This is what they're going to do the rest of the day. And I think David realized that he's working to the bottom of the racetrack again, coming up 4. And he's been so strong all day coming up off of 4, getting underneath Johnny here. He knows that's another position, these guys, if they decide to pit.
I'll tell you, Bobby East right now is using his head. He's
good, a really good decision on Bobby East's part, the way he's driving. Here's Bobby Jr. He's already made a pit stop also.
That's the Fastenal Dodge right there. He's currently being shown in the 17th position. That's Mike Skinner, the number 5 Toyota right behind him. Looks like Bobby's going to get by the 46 truck of Craig Kinzer, I'm sorry.
So Bobby Hamilton Jr. moving up to 16th. Again, though, it's the Germain Racing team that has separated themselves from the field. Todd Bodine running better right now than Ted Musgrave, but Musgrave has a cushion between himself and third place Bobby East, and that cushion being Kyle Krisiloff in the 15. Krisiloff not running as fast as Bobby East.
And I think the tempo has been set to race here. I think Ray's right. I think they were bluffing. I think the 30 and the 9 are going to try to stay out the rest of the way. And if a caution comes out like we anticipate, then it could become an issue. If the cautions don't come, we don't have an issue. They're probably going to run out of gas.
No, they'd have to come in.
Well, they might have to pit under green if this race keeps going without another caution.
Yeah, they won't. It's going to be a long time before. It's going to be 100 laps before they would have to stop, I think, under green. But we're going to get some more caution flags. There's no doubt, because they've got right now the 30 of Todd Bodine and the 9 of Ted Musgrave have pulled out such a large lead over the third place truck of Bobby East. There you see him right there trying to get by the 15 of Kyle Krisiloff.
This is the same 3 that crashed earlier with the Aaron Crocker getting into the 15, just a racing incident. The 21 trying to pass the 15, Kyle Krisiloff on the inside, did not prevail there.
Got a spin right behind them. The 40 truck right there, that's Ryan Moore making his first ever Craftsman Truck Series start.
6th caution of the day comes out again. The 2 races that have run here previously, 13 cautions in each of those races. This time, it's the 6th caution coming out for Ryan Moore in the number 40.
Yeah, he was right behind that group of Bobby East and Aaron Crocker. He was running up in the top 10 right now, but it looked like there was a little chain reaction back there, and he got a little damage and turned around.
How frustrated right now is Bobby East? He was almost by Kyle Krisiloff, and Krisiloff is a lap down, and he's racing Bobby East for position.
The bad news for Bobby East is Kyle Krisiloff is 2 laps down, and Robert Turner is 1 lap down, so he'll get the Aaron's lucky dog. So Kyle Krisiloff will restart right where he did the last time, right up front.
The thing about it is, Phil, you know, he's giving him room. I mean, the 15 truck is slower than him, but he is giving him room.
Jimmy, if you were driving the 21 of Bobby East,
I'd move him.
Thank you very much.
I'd say at some point in time, someone's going to punt.
Yeah, I would say, you know, I know what happened in the past, but we got to go on. He's running third. Bobby East needs to be a little more aggressive in the situation and say, hey, you know, NASCAR's watching. And I don't think the 21 intended on spinning the 15 out earlier in the race. So let's forget about it and go racing. And this is where East is learning a valuable lesson today. And I'm sure he'll be schooled when he gets home. But he's doing a good job.
The pace truck setting the pace around here. Todd Bodine has set the pace under green. The entire race, the 94 laps that we have run, have been led by Todd Bodine.
They're going to open pit road this time. We're going to see if the 30 of Todd Bodine and the 9 of Ted Musgrave come in.
Now they said closer to halfway, and a halfway on this race would be 125. It looks as though Todd Bodine.
Pit road is still closed right now. The red flag with the yellow X on it is still out, so pit road is closed. Ray, what are they talking about doing?
Phil, they are not bluffing me. Mike Jr. just came over and said It's so hot today, people have no idea how much this tire is really going to give up. We've never raced here when it's hot. We are going to pit, and I'm not kidding you. He said we want to get closer to halfway. We believe the tires will be better on a long run if we've got them with, 120 to go.
When will they ever have a long run, though? That's the question, because, I mean, so far we've had probably at the most maybe 15 laps of green flag racing.
Well, I think also the thing that they got to look at, Rick, is the hot and cold cycle. Even though, that we have green flag races caution, that plays havoc on the tires as far as green caution, then green caution, cool down and heat up.
And so the strategy still is, will the Germain team come in? Well, Mike Greenwell gets the Aaron's lucky dog. He'll move around and get a lap back. Field about to come out of turn number 4. The green flag in the air. We're back to racing in the city of Mansfield 250, presented on Speed by Scotts.
Bobby Easton, the 21 truck, Jimmy, made a pit stop on that caution flag, so he's not going to have to deal with a 15 of Kyle Krisloff. But right now,
look out, Ron Hornaday.
Man, he got loose there, but the 12, Joey Miller got in.
Trouble.
Here it is.
Problem right in front of him. Aaron Crocker gets spun around. We talked about that.
They're still coming in here. Here comes the 07. Yeah. They're still all coming in. Barns and doors are flying.
She had such a good run going, too. She was up in the 3rd position.
They just, they're not respecting her. And it's a shame that I have to say that, but the girl was doing a good job, and she did not deserve to be spun out there.
Jimmy, let's take a look at what happened.
This is an interesting deal here with Hornaday. He just, he gets bumped.
Yeah, he got
Joey
big
Miller.
Time loose. Keep watching now. We're going to see Aaron Crocker get turned right there. Looked like by the 08 of Mike Greenwell, who's truck at a lap down, a lap or 2 down.
Man, that's just, it's terrible. She needs to get her thoughts collected and back focusing on her job. She's doing a good job.
7 cautions have come out. We have not made it to the halfway point in Mansfield. The crowds are getting their money's worth. And on a short track with a lot of cautions, we'll see a lot of lucky dogs. And Aaron's lucky dog going to Craig Kinzer. Gets a lap back after this most recent caution.
There's a 08 of Mike Greenwell. This is his first ever Craftsman Truck Series.
He does
a baseball in the past. But
he does a good job here. I think they're going to show us here. They're going to show some stuff that we want to give credit here. He gets underneath Aaron going down the back straightaway, gets down on the inside, starts to lose his truck, Phil, like you had said. He did not mean to hit her.
Not at all. He had to chase his truck up the hill, and when he did, he made some contact.
And naturally, the thing is that she's okay.
He didn't mean to hit Aaron Crocker, but he did mean to hit the baseball when he played for the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, yeah.
All-star player in 88 and 89. Was second in the MVP voting back in 1988 to Jose Canseco, a great baseball player, all loved by the Boston fans. Great glove for Gator. Look at that. What a shot.
Oh, man.
And a catch.
Yeah.
Great play out there.
He was a career 300 hitter, Rick, in the major leagues.
303 for Gator Greenwell. We take a look at his baseball numbers. Again, 2-time All-Star, 130 home runs. The amazing thing, 12 seasons in the major leagues and a 303 batting average.
That's pretty cool. I know a lot of fans out there are big Boston Red Sox fans, so I hope they're pulling for Greenwell today in a Truck Series.
Don't forget that the MLB on Fox's Emmy Award-winning production team will once again bring you the Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week. Make sure you check your local listings for matchups and times.
Rick Greenwell had a lot of hits in the major leagues, but he's had 1 hit today. That's on Aaron Crocker. Ray, what's going on down there?
Hey, Phil, I had mentioned earlier that Mike Hillman Jr.'s father-in-law passed away, Jimmy Lee Hager. They got a sign down here for him. But check it out. Every crew member down here has a sign on the back of their helmet that says, "Oh, yeah." Well, Jimmy used to walk around and they'd say, "We going to win this week?" And he'd say, "Oh, yeah." They think they're going to do it again today.
Green flag waves again. Once again, Todd and Teddy do not pit.
Yeah.
Todd and Ted out in front. Again, if they're going to go to halfway, that's lap 125. So they still have some time here.
I think that they're not going to pit.
Jimmy, they've got to pit. You can only go 190 miles on a tank of fuel.
They've equated
190
this.
laps, excuse me.
The thing is that there is Hornaday. He's already pitted. He's up to 4th. We see Rex Sprague up to 5th. And you know, here's some trouble again with the 0-2.
Kelly Sutton in the 0-2, slow on the inside. No caution has come out. She tries to get back up to speed. She'll get back out on the racetrack.
Great side-by-side battle for third to 33 of Ron Hornaday on the inside. That's Bill Lester, who is not pitted yet, on the outside in the 22, and they're trying to make their way around Kyle Krisloff, the 15 truck, who is a couple laps down. There goes Hornaday by. Here comes Bill Lester, and here comes Jack Sprague in the 60 truck.
Now this will force the hand here, Rick.
Exactly.
What happens? Hornaday is got tires. He can go the rest of the way. What are they going to have to do with these two Germain Toyotas?
Not only tires, but fuel. Ron Hornaday can make it. The big question mark is, can Ted and Todd make it? Well, only if we get a lot more caution laps.
See, I don't think it's an issue of tires for them. I think it's an issue of fuel. I would just be shocked if they can run 250 laps. I don't care how many caution laps we have. If they can run 250 laps in this race without stopping, I will be amazed.
A lot of this happening on short tracks. We see the sheet metal coming off of the number 12 truck.
Yeah, you know, currently he's running in sixth, and he has a black flag issued to him. So, you know, naturally that is dangerous, that piece of sheet metal hanging, but it's going to take him out of running in sixth position. He has to obey this black flag.
Yeah, that's really too bad for Joey Miller.
David Starr's going to move him out of the way if he doesn't get out of the way. Krista.
Guys, I want to follow up on your talking about Erin Crocker, the 98, kind of finish up that contact that she made with Mike Greenwell. She was very upset when it first happened. She actually got on the radio and said, "Who's in that 08?" The guy said, "Hey, don't worry about it. Just calm down. Don't let it get to you. You're running great." When she came in twice, they took right sides the first time, left sides the second. They also gave her an ice bag to cool her off inside the truck. They made an air pressure and a wedge adjustment. They're very happy with her patience on the track. They don't want her to lose that because of that contact.
Well, here comes our 8th caution of the day. It has come out, and look at the sheet metal on the racetrack. Could that be Joey Miller's?
It came from the 12 truck of Joey Miller. He was being black flagged. He bumps the wall right here. Boom. And he knocks it off. A great move on his part. What is NASCAR going to do about that? We'll have to see.
Well, they're not going to blame him for knocking that piece of sheet metal off. They may blame him for not heeding the black flag that they gave him, but they're not going to say anything about knocking the sheet metal off. Maybe they won't even make him come in for the black flag.
Well, we'll see now, because he got passed by the 11 of David Starr, so he is 7th right now.
So they show him the black flag. Isn't he responsible to come in right when he sees that black flag?
He's as soon as he acknowledges the black flag, he's supposed to come in and pit. But it's going to be interesting now, because obviously the reason for the black flag is not there anymore.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what NASCAR does, if they're going to make him come down pit road or going to penalize him for not heeding the black flag. I hope that they say, hey, it came off, all's good.
Right. So Joey Miller.
Wait, look at the 30 truck.
Oh, here we go. We see. And Todd Bodine is going to come down pit road without his teammate. So Todd Bodine comes down pit road. Ted Musgrave stays out.
This is
Ray, what's going on?
Interesting.
It's very simple, guys. When Bodine gets here and does his pit stop, that lets Musgrave be the leader. He'll get 5 bonus points, and bonus points have been so important this year. As a matter of fact, that's why Todd has been doing so well all season long. He's scored the most bonus points throughout the season here this year. So as Bodine brings his Lumber Liquidators Toyota to us, he'll do his pit stop. Then the next time down, Musgrave will come. Why would they do it that way? Well, Musgrave leads, and they both were planning on pitting, so it works out for both of them. The crew goes to work on Todd's truck here. They're going to do right side tires. Fuel will go in, so now we have come to the conclusion they weren't bluffing. The Jackman Magnum Faust falls down just a little bit. It won't be a big deal, though. Changing front tires is Mike Hillman Jr. They had to swap a few guys around here this week, but Bodine will get out here without a problem. Now, the next lap around, I expect to see Musgrave.
Ray, you're exactly right. Ted Musgrave is on pit road. He got the 5 bonus points for leading, and it's not going to be a big penalty because there were only 3 trucks that pitted that last time, so he will only go behind the 10 of Terry Cook and maybe the 1 of Robert Richardson, because those are the only other trucks in addition to Todd Bodine that pitted that time. But here comes Ted Musgrave down pit road into his pits, Ray.
Well, Phil, Cesar Villanueva usually changes the front tires here, but he's away for a funeral this weekend. So they moved Greg Donlin over to do the front tires. Now, he normally works on Bodine's crew. So as he does that, just a little bit of a crew shuffle here. These guys, everything going fairly smoothly. Oh, the jack starts to drop down a little bit. So they'll have to put the jack back up. They'll go ahead and get the tires on. But this is not going to be a big deal because Musgrave's the only guy on pit road. They get the tires tight, and the ASE Toyota will go back to the racetrack.
You know, last week we talked about remember when Mark Martin had a flat tire and we had a shot of Ted Musgrave's crew on the wall and it looked like they were celebrating. We said something about it. Well, they had really just passed Terry Cook on the racetrack, and that's what they were celebrating. We did not see that on our screen. So unfortunately, they got credit for celebrating when somebody had some misfortune. Yeah. Mike Hillman Sr. told me, he said, I would fire somebody if I saw them celebrating somebody else's misfortune. So I wanted to make sure that Ted Musgrave's guys were not celebrating because Mark Martin had a flat tire.
I'm glad you brought that up, Phil, because that is something I was sitting home watching on TV last week, and I says, man, that's not a good move. And I did talk to Mike, and I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think any team does that. Hey, look at this. You know, I used to have a dog named Lucky, and he was one of my favorites. So Kelly Sutton, once again today, gets the lucky dog.
Aaron's lucky dog going to Kelly Sutton. Well, it's Ron Hornaday now leading this field. Ron Hornaday has stopped. He doesn't have to stop again. Can he hold off the field and win in Mansfield?
Well, I'll tell you, Ted Musgrave and Todd Bodine are so far back right now. Now, we've got 130 laps. A lot of those laps, more than likely, will be run under caution. I'm not sure, guys, if they have enough time, Jimmy, to get all the way back to the front. I'm not sure I like this strategy.
I agree with you, Phil. I don't think the strategy was the right decision because of that reason, knowing that this is only 120 laps left, and you're right, it quite possibly could be another 30 or 40 cautions.
How about Bill Lester running second right now? We talked about 102 consecutive starts for Bill Lester. That ended last week in Charlotte when he did not qualify to make that show, and now running second.
Yeah, and you know, that's a great decision on their part, pitting early, get that truck in position. That is a big charge for Bill to get back, knowing he missed the race, coming back, running strong today second. Boy, I tell you what, we have seen some great racing here. We're seeing really the track's starting to widen out. Now we're seeing these tires and the handling becoming an issue here.
Another story that's building right now. Ron Hornaday has won more short track races than anybody else in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Well, currently in third is Jack Sprague, who is second in the all-time wins column as far as NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series wins. So it could be an old school battle. Right on that.
Well, I think you're exactly right, Rick. It'll be fun to see if Sprague and Hornaday can battle. But I was looking up some stats on short track laps led. How about Hornaday with 3,605 laps led on short tracks? You know, Todd Bodine has been out front of this race all day long. Coming into today, he'd only led 120 short track laps. So Hornaday's certainly the master when it comes to little tracks.
This is the first time that Ron Hornaday has led since Loudon of a year ago. And so it is Ron Hornaday out in front of the field at Mansfield. Can Ron Hornaday win in Mansfield? We'll find out. Coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Valvoline. Tested on the track, trusted on the road. By Aquavelva. Aquavelva keeps your face toned and fit. You know what women say, it just feels better with an Aquavelva man. And by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. Caution has come out again at Mansfield, and it comes out because of Marcus Ambrose, and that number 20.
Marcus had a little spin over in turn number 1 and 2.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is I said that, you know, Hornaday had pitted and then Bill Lester had pitted. Well, Bill Lester did not pit, and under that strength of runs, he went from second to fourth. So, you know, evidently, Phil, he might be one of the teams that's going to plan on staying out. But I had called him in saying he pitted already. He did not.
But now he's losing positions to the trucks with fresher tires. To me, he needs to pit, and he is coming down pit road right
Phil,
now.
he had a pit. Once you start losing positions, I agree with you. But I'm like you, what you said earlier about the 30 and the 9. These guys are way back. They're still running in 25th and 27th position. You know, we're down here now, Krista.
Guys, the 22 is in. This was planned all along. They wanted to let the field kind of widen out. They were having trouble with a lot of the lapped traffic, especially number 15 of Kyle Krisloff. Bill Lester just needed to keep things calm out there on the track. That's what his crew chief Doug Walcott was telling him to do. Now he's looking for side grip. Side grip is what he needs, especially center off. They went around down on the track bar to help give him that.
So the reason for our caution as Bill Lester comes in to get his work done on the 22 Toyota was the 20 of Marcus Ambrose going around and smacking the wall. As we go green tomorrow on Speed, NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot gives you the command to start your engines. It's instant adrenaline and expert analysis with this ultimate pre-race show. NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot live from Charlotte tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern on Speed.
Jimmy, you know a little bit about that.
I love it. I'm enjoying this truck race a lot, and I got my man Ted Tushesky, our producer, and JR and Kenny, and I'm telling you, I'm excited about this. But I said Hornaday is going to be tough, and right now, Phil, it seems like his truck is just exiting the corners as good as anybody. Really nice and straight. He's looking real strong right now.
He sure is. As you mentioned.
Caution here in turn 4.
Trouble, Mike Greenwell.
Oh, no. Okay.
Well, good.
My goodness, I thought the 07 was going to hit the 08.
And that's his teammate, Robert Turner. Ted Lakaitis, is that who you met, Ted Lakaitis?
I can never remember his name. I just call him Teddy, my man.
Teddy Bossman.
Oh, I would never want to mess with him.
Well, 10 cautions have come out. The record at this racetrack is 13. The record in the Craftsman Truck Series is 16. We could flirt with that today.
Down here in the garage, you will not find a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series team without one of these. Craftsman's new 18-volt cordless drill. Here's some of the cool things about it. Check this out. An auxiliary handle, 360 degrees. That helps with control, allows you to kind of get into those tight spots. Also, this drill has plenty of power. This is a 24-position torque clutch. Kind of allows you to gear up for any sort of job. Oh, also has an emergency brake so you can stop each job on a dime, and not one, but 2 batteries. Means you can drill all day long. Pick one of these up at your local Sears store or any Craftsman dealer. And don't forget, Sears tools, made in America, guaranteed for life.
Check out this Craftsman Tools of the Trade and other great programming on Speed on Demand. Marcus Ambrose, our Aaron's Lucky Dog recipient, so was able to get back 1 lap. As we're about to go racing, we look at how this last caution came about.
Mike Greenwell on the inside of the racetrack. Remember, it's very, very flat down there. Lost control, no contact.
Green flag has come out, and that means that Ron Hornaday was in front of the field, and a pretty good start for the restart master, but I tell you what, Jack Sprague is right there with him.
You know, Jack Sprague ran his fastest lap about 10 laps ago, really just a couple laps before that caution flag came out. So he's got a lot of laps on his tires. He was one of the first trucks to stop on lap number 29, but his truck is as fast now or faster than it's been all day long.
Coming up on lap 150, this is actually 150 right here when they complete it. 100 laps of racing to go. Ron Hornaday in front of the field. Field all in line. It's 3 Toyotas, actually a Chevy followed by 4 Toyotas. Ray.
Hey guys, how are Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave doing? Well, believe it or not, they've only gained 5 positions. Next truck in front of Todd is Aaron Crocker. And as we look through the field, 7 of the next 10 trucks they need to pass are rookies. So Ted and Todd are able to talk to each other on the radio. And under caution, they did just that. Todd said, am I going to be able to get through these guys on the outside? Ted says, whichever way you go, I'll go with you. Don't worry about your back. I got you covered here. They make their way around Crocker, and now they got to really get busy here if they're going to get back up to the front of this pack. Right now, Bodine in 23rd position.
Well, Ted Musgrave on the inside of Aaron Crocker in that number 98. Looks like a little contact made there as he was trying to get by her, but couldn't.
That's right. They're not going to be able to make the passes on the outside because all these trucks in line are running on the outside because that's the fast way around. So it's going to be extremely difficult for both of those trucks to make their way back to the front. We talked about at the very opening of the show how pit strategy was going to come into play. The earlier you could get down pit road and have enough fuel to get to the end, that was going to be better. They obviously didn't feel that way. Mike Hillman, Jr., Tom Ackerman didn't feel that way. They felt like they wanted fresher tires at the end. I'm not sure they're going to be able to use them as the caution flies once again.
Well, we're going to see a lot of cycling of tires here right now because the caution has come out once again. That's 11. The 11th caution coming out for the 07. Robert Turner. See a lot of damage to the front left of that truck.
The 02 of Kelly Sutton, the Team Copaxton Chevrolet, was also involved in this incident.
It's obvious that this isn't baseball because 3 strikes and you're out. These guys have spun out today the 02, the 07, the 08. I mean, many, many times.
One thing that I'm also seeing, though, is we're only seeing one truck accidents right now. We're not seeing a pile-up like you would normally see if one gets spun around in a big group. It's been normally one truck that spins around, either hits the wall or comes to a stop, and then everybody gets away.
I think the big thing about that, Rick, is that the braking system on the trucks anymore are so much better. The vision, the spotters, just everything about that is warning only one or two spin outs there.
And so the crowd is seeing another amazing race here in Mansfield. Ron Hornaday, and anyone pass him on the restart, we'll find out. Today's Fastenal flashback focuses on the two previous races here at Mansfield Motorsports Speedway. Jack Sprague, driving the number 16 Chevrolet, found victory lane in Ohio for the first time in a NASCAR sanctioned event in over 50 years. Now, last year in front of a packed house again, Bobby Hamilton won from starting in the 26th position. Jack and Bobby, the only two winners in Mansfield, are Fastenal flashback. Green flag just flying again here in Mansfield. Ron Hornaday, Jack Sprague, David Starr, Joey Miller, Johnny Benson are your top five. Then short track ace Dennis Setzer back in 6th, Rudem in 7th, Park is 8th, Matt Kraft in 9th, and 10th is Mike Bliss.
You know, Ron Hornaday.
Another spin.
Problems. That's Eric Almirola slides into the inside
Hits
wall.
the ball hard.
Yeah,
that truck will be done for the day.
Yeah, that truck hit really hard. You know, we see that a lot coming off these corners. The trucks get a little loose, a little help from one another. Boom. That is a crooked race truck right there, guys.
Yeah, he was running in the top 15, looking to have another good run. He's had 2 top 10s in a row coming into this race, but Dave McCarty and the Spears guys are going to have a lot of work to do to get that truck patched back together to get him back out on the racetrack.
Unfortunate for Eric Almirola. We talked a little bit about him before the start of this show.
Let's see if we can take a look, Rick, and what caused this. You see him coming off turn number 4. He's on the inside right now. Looks like he slid up into the 5 of Mike Skinner. Looked like he lost the front end a little bit, Jimmy, and slid up into Mike Skinner, and it did. It just turned his nose towards the inside, and around he went.
Yeah, you know what he did, what it looks like he did here, we'll see it real here, entering turn 3 and 4. This is in Bobby Jr.'s view. As he's coming off the corner, he bumps Skinner with his right front fill and just loses control of his truck. Just a deal where probably trying to be a little too quick on the throttle or whatever, and ends up costing him the day.
So they work on the 75 Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet of Eric Almirola. We'll cut away for a quick break, come back for more racing. Welcome back to Mansfield, Ohio. And we hate to see the smoke coming out of the number 1 of Robert Richardson as he goes by the front grandstands.
Yeah, he's staying down off the racetrack. There's some stuff coming out of the back of that truck, but he got off the racetrack very, very quick. Fortunately, we've been able to stay green. Got a great battle shaping up for the 2nd position. Jack Sprague has got his hands full. There's our leader right there, Ron Hornaday, the 33. But David Starr, the 11 truck, our winner at Martinsville, is coming.
David Starr won that race in Martinsville. There were 16 cautions in that race in Martinsville. Well, we've had 12 here so far.
It seems like David's truck really comes to life the longer we run. So, you know, it's obvious that Martinsville worked. It could work for him today.
The top 2, they have 52 wins between the 33 of Ron Hornaday and the 60 of Jack Sprague. Those two guys know how to win in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Yeah, and it's obvious today that the 30 and the 9, I don't believe they're going to get back to the top 5, let alone win. Todd is really hustling, so is Teddy. But I think, Phil, you were right. I think that was a decision that they definitely a blunder on their part.
I think they're going to regret that decision because there are so many good trucks. It's so difficult to pass here as we've watched this entire race that I'm not sure that they're ever going to have enough time. It took Ted Musgrave forever to get by Aaron Crocker. He's obviously got a faster truck. There's Augie Vidovich right there. Got a good look at Todd Bodine. But unfortunately, Todd right now is running in the 20th position, and we've only got about 75 laps to go.
Right.
The thing that's interesting to me is Hornaday pitted after Jack Sprague. Jack Sprague actually pits first. So does Joey Miller. They're running 2nd and 4th, but Hornaday and Starr pit after those guys in their 1st and 3rd. So it was obvious the decision to pit early was the right decision so far today.
Krista, who else is running good on the track?
Guys, a top 10 truck we really haven't talked about is Steve Park. He's run both the Mansfield races here in 04 and 05, finished no better than 20th. His best finish of the year actually happened at St. Louis. That was 18th. He's running in the top 10. He told me earlier this weekend, too, a funny thing about Ohio. He loves coming to this race because the fans are so wonderful. You know, he's from New York. His fan club numbers are tops in Pennsylvania and Ohio. He says he can't figure it out. He just knows they love racing, and they love watching him run in the top 10 today.
He does have a good race score. And there's Bobby Jr., the 18 truck on the outside. That's his teammate, Scott Lagasse Jr. on the inside in the 04 truck. He's having a good run. They're battling right now for the 14th position.
And their teammate, Timothy Peters, is currently running in the 11th position. So BHR, a good showing today.
Yeah, you know, the other guy right there, Eric Darnell, the leading rookie, you know, just hanging right in there, being consistent, sitting right there in the top 15.
His closest competitor, the 75 of Eric Almirola, off of the racetrack. And so, disappointing day for that team.
There's a battle heating up again for the second spot. David Starr, the 11 truck, trying to find a way around the 60 of Jack Sprague. It's so difficult. You see where Jack Sprague's running on the racetrack? That's where you run this racetrack. You go in a little bit low, you drift up to the middle, to the high side, you stay up there, and it's hard to get a grip down there where David Starr is trying to make that pass. Ray, what's going on with those guys?
Caution.
Yellow is out here, Phil. Let's see what happened on the racetrack. We'll get back to David Starr.
Chad McCumbee in the 06, and we're hearing, has brought out this most recent caution. Is coming out on lap 180, so 70 laps of racing remain, 13 cautions. That ties the record for Mansfield as far as many cautions as have been run.
I don't believe we'll see anybody in pit road from now on unless they're really struggling right now.
One thing that's amazing so far is with the cautions, only 59 laps of caution flag laps have been run through the cautions up to this point. We'll be back after this. Back to the City of Mansfield 250, presented on Speed by Scotts. Ron Hornaday, Jack Sprague up in front. It seems like old school NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series racing, seeing those two names out front.
They've had such terrific battles over the years, especially the early years in the Craftsman Truck Series. Both have made their way back to the series on a full-time basis, and they've got a great battle brewing right here. But I think you need to watch that 11 truck of David Starr. I think he has a better truck right now than does Jack Sprague, but he can't work his way around him. We have 4 of our top 5 right now that ran their fastest lap of the race just before this most recent caution flag. So we're talking about Jack Sprague with, at the very least, 150 laps on his tires, running his fastest lap of the race.
And you know what's interesting, Phil, is that last year, Ron Hornaday leading the race about this time, looks like he's going to win. He jumps the start. So, you know, I'm sure that's in his mind, too.
You think somebody's saying to him, Ron, wait until you get to the line.
Ray's like an old dog. He don't forget. He knows what he done wrong.
So Ron Hornaday out in front of the field. Ron Hornaday has 27 wins in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. 15 of those have come on short tracks. And so he definitely knows how to win on a short track.
You know
Ray
what?
Dunlap. Oh, sorry, Krista.
Yeah, guys, hey, you were talking about Ron Hornaday. He definitely does not forget that restart last year. In fact, in the post-race press conference, Bobby Hamilton, who went on to win that race, joked about his Mr. Restart nickname. Ron Hornaday, very happy with his truck, obviously, right?
Krista, over the years, Hornaday and Sprague have run first and second 9 different times. Hornaday with the advantage with 6 wins. When we look right behind the number 60, David Starr will be off to Indianapolis. He's got an invitation from A.J. Foyt to go to the Indy 500. That'll be cool. Green flag flies.
Back to racing.
Another interesting story here is Joey Miller, 4th, and Johnny Benson all the way back to 5th. I mean, the problems they've had is it's really interesting to see these two guys in the top 5.
Joey, what's going on with Joey?
Pit strategy for Joey Miller has obviously paid off. They pitted very early, and NASCAR did not bring them down. They was actually pitting on their own merit, but he is loose right now. He's complaining of loose off the corners. He cannot get on the gas, so he's doing everything he can to keep that truck in the top 5.
So great runs for Toyotas again here on a short track now. Jack Sprague, David Starr, Joey Miller, Johnny Benson, 2 through 4. Don't count out Rudeman. He's back in 7th with a good run. You throw in the short track ace of Dennis Setzer, who's holding on to 6th position right now.
You know, the other thing too, Rick, you got Matt Crafton Bliss. You've got some really strong guys that's running right there that are right there fighting. That's just for the top 10. That's hard to believe.
Right.
And we've got 60 laps to go right now. As you see, Dennis Setzwer on board his truck for a moment. And Ty Bodine is still mired back in the 19th position. And Tud Musgrave back in the 22nd position.
We've got to call that a mistake. That's got to be a crew chief mistake?
Well, it's not a mistake. It's bad strategy. It's not that they meant to pit and didn't pit. That's bad strategy on their part, I believe. Again, we've got a long way to go. We've got 60 laps to go, but they've got so many good trucks to try to pass that I don't think it's ever going to happen. We were talking during the break, and Jimmy said, I'm not sure they'll even be able to make it back to the top 10.
Yeah.
And I think I agree.
I agree, Phil, that, I think that those guys thought that something was going to happen here. The sun doesn't look like it's baking the track, so their decision was that they think these tires are going to wear more. They're not. Goodyear brought a tire here. We're seeing a great race, but it's obvious you should have pitted in the first 50 laps.
Hey, Jimmy, Jack Sprague and David Starr running in second and third just ran their fastest lap of the race just now.
Well, it goes to show you, Goodyear is bringing these tires, and you're seeing this more and more in all the series that Goodyear brings these tires. They're very good tires. And you naturally know what you have when you practiced here on Friday. Right now, Hornaday, I tell you, he's just as strong as he can be.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in that number 18 Fastenal Dodge.
Good shot. I'm sorry, but a good shot of Rick Crawford right behind him. Rick was a pretty proud papa last Friday night. Adam, his son, graduated from high school last Friday night. Obviously couldn't be at the race at Charlotte, and I'm a pretty proud papa too. My daughter graduated last night in Huntersville, North Carolina, so proud of Kinsley.
You guys aren't the only ones. My daughter, my wife, and I are going to her graduation next week at Dover weekend, so I'm excited about that. My daughter's graduating too. That goes to tell you how old we are, Phil.
Everybody's graduating.
Rick? I'm thinking about taking a vacation. Should I talk about that too? Great racing continuing though on this short track. Boston Reed in that number 25 trying to move up.
Here's a good battle here. Todd once again trying to work that bottom groove. Maybe it's starting to come in for him. Long stretch of green. This is probably the longest run up. We have another. The 21 East just slammed into the 5 truck of Skinner. I mean, that was almost a caution.
See Todd right there in front of Bobby Hamilton Jr. Boston Reed was able to get Bobby Jr.
There
Todd's
it is.
been following Boston.
There it is. I hate to interrupt you, but I saw that coming.
Bobby East hard into the wall in turn 3.
I'm sure we have film of this.
Yeah.
This
Did he get dumped?
He learned a lesson. He learned a valuable lesson right here. Mike Skinner was running his groove. He was being patient. This guy bumps him in turn 3 and 4. Mike says, "This is a lesson for you, son. Right here it comes." And I'm sure we have it. He's done for the day, it looks like.
A lot of damage to that Edie's Ice Cream Ford.
Leave it up to our camera crew. We know they've got it, Phil.
Yeah.
Here it comes right here.
This is the earlier contact you were talking about. I think
No, that was the actual thing.
That was the wreck right there.
Well, also the guy moved up on Mike. In Mike's defense, I mean,
he really did. That wasn't a situation where it was a payback. He moved up on Mike Skinner.
But he did slam into Mike earlier in 3 and 4, and Mike, he just moved over on Mike. I don't blame Mike for, hey man, I'm holding my ground here. The guy has to realize these guys race hard in this truck series. This is what I love about the truck series. We race hard. And in turn, if you come in here, we're going to race hard, but don't push me because I'm going to push back. And Skinner held his ground. He did the right decision coming up the corner, and I think East made a little mistake right there and just said, hey, I'm coming up, and Mike didn't move.
Yeah, he obviously wasn't clear, and you've got to rely on those spotters. And, so much, we raced for so long, Jimmy, without spotters, and you have a sense of when somebody's beside you or when you're clear. It's nice to have that confirmation from a spotter, but you really know when you're clear, and I think Bobby should have known then he was not clear of Mike Skinner.
You bring a good point up, Phil. You know as well as I do, when you race a short track, you almost feel, you hear, you know how far you are. And the thing is that we saw earlier in the race with Kyle Kristoloff staying on it outside. And the thing is you got to respect one another, even though you're short track racing. Henry.
Hey guys, just wanted to let you know Jamie Jones, crew chief for David Starr, just came over to talk to crew chief Tony Furr. A little conversation kind of went pretty simply. Jamie said, I think we're faster. Is there any chance you can talk Jack in to letting us go by? Because we think we've got something for Hornaday. He said, well, I'll talk to him about it. I've been listening to the radio, and so far he hasn't said a thing.
I don't...
Well, I
don't think he wants to get hollered at.
Yeah, when you're in second, I don't think you ask your driver to move over.
Well, are we supposed to move out of each other's way? No. David, pass him, David. Pass my driver. I'm not moving out of your way.
Debris coming off the track again. This is the 14th caution of the day. The recipient of the Aaron's Lucky Dog, Mike Greenwell, will get 1 lap back. We'll be back for more Green Flag Racing. Now let's take a look at our Aqua Velva out of the blue moment. Jack Sprague coming down pit road.
Lap number 29, great pit call by Tony Furr and his guys. They knew, or at least they feel like they could run this race from this point on without another pit stop. That is our Aqua Velva out of the blue moment.
And another truck driver that came down on the same one was Joey Miller.
That's right, and he's running 4th right now. So great pit strategy by Johnny Allen and Tony Furr, crew chiefs for those 2 trucks.
Johnny Benson also running in 5th. Give credit to him. Dennis Setzer 6th. Those guys all pitted early. Johnny was forced to pit early with that left rear flat, and then in turn only put 2 tires on to get track position back, and it's paying off for him here with the top 5 run right now.
Dennis Setzer currently holding on to the 6th position, and as you'd mentioned, so difficult to pass around this track, but Dennis Setzer's worked his way into the top 6. David Ruderman right behind him in that Toyota.
Matt Crafton in the 88 truck's going to be right behind David Ruderman. Another good run for the Menard Chevrolet. Then you've got the 16 of Mike Bliss. Again, a lot of people in the garage here thought maybe he had the best truck here through practice. He's got a top 10 run going. There's Steve Park. What a great run for Steve Park in the Harris Trucking Dodge.
You know, another one, Phil, Timothy Peters started 34th position. He's running 11th right now, so that's another solid run for Timothy.
Eric Darnell, Scott Lagasse, Mike Skinner, and Rick Crawford rounding out our top 15 as they come out of turn 4. We're back to racing in Mansfield. And we are definitely not seeing any jumping of the restart by Ron Hornaday. He has been very cautious of that. We are hearing, though, that problems with the 04, and I'm seeing the 46 of Craig Kinzer make his way down pit road. 04 trying to get off of the racetrack now. He will make it off of the racetrack in front of the field. So
tough break for Scott Lagasse Jr. Had a great run going, was being shown in the top 15. Looked to have probably his best career finish. David Starr glances to the inside of Jack Sprague, not able to make it that time. It's so difficult to get bite down there. Trouble, turn 4. Aaron Crocker in the 15 of Kyle Kristoloff makes some serious contact, gets straightened out.
She's able to keep going. It's only a
trouble in turn 1 and 2 with Bill Lester getting spun around.
Lester spinning, that brings out caution 15.
What's that record?
Well, that's 16, and we said it earlier
It's
at
gone.
Martinsville.
Yeah,
Kristoloff's also smoking with the right front where he had hit. You had said, Phil, he had really slammed into the 98 of Aaron. Now he has tire smoke. He'll have to make a pit too.
Let's take a look at what happened with Bill Lester here. Look at that, Rick. 15
Take a look
caution
at
flags.
Our records.
Let's see if we can take a glance at what happened with Bill Lester to cause this most recent caution flag. You see he's on the inside of another truck and looked like he just was down on the flat down there, Jimmy, where you don't get that much bite. Tried to use that throttle. Unfortunately, the back end got out from under it.
Yeah, unloaded the front end is what you're right, Phil. Looks like he got down on the flat. When you do that, the sway bar unloads, puts a bind in the truck, and he lose rear adhesion, spins out.
There's Aaron Crocker. Looks like she has a left front tire. That's where she got body slammed by the 15 of Kyle Kristoloff.
That started back real early in this race. We saw Aaron get into the 15. 15's back on the lead lap. Now, he was all the way up to 20. I believe he has to pit with that right front smoking, and he is on pit road.
Well, Wednesday, it's the final of Pinks. The final matchup, the final negotiations, the final moments of the most intense race of the year. Don't miss the special 1-hour season finale of Pinks. Wednesday, 9 Eastern, 8 Pacific only on Speed.
I got a story there, Rick, that you're not going to believe, but Jack Roush has challenged Mike Helton to a Pinks. Mike has turned him down, but can you imagine Jack Roush? He's got some, he says, I only got a little old Mustang.
I was going to say, it'd be Jack Roush's Mustang.
Helton, what does he have? Helton's got motorcycles, Corvettes, you name it, he does.
That'd be a good Pinks.
Here we go. We have a bunch of crew members running over here. They're looking to find one of their trucks. The 21 is sitting in the infield.
Tell you what, Jimmy, let's go a little bit deeper in the field with Ray Dunlap.
Thank you, Rick. Let's start with Johnny Benson. You know, he's running in 5th in that 23 Toyota. You know, he's one of the guys that could break into the winners in all 3 divisions. He's got a win in the Cup Series, 3 in the Busch Grand National Series, and he has not yet won in trucks. But Setzer right behind him, giving him some pressure. Krista?
Well, earlier in the show, the guys at the booth were talking about high school graduations. Dennis Setzer is trying to graduate into the top 5. He is the highest in points right now, actually 7th in points, 8th in driver points, without a top 5 finish. Can you believe that? Mr. Short Track Dennis Setzer, though, hoping Mansfield is a place he can finally put a check mark next to that. Ray?
David Rudiman with a good run. He's currently in 7th. 5 top 10s this year has got him 3rd in the points, and they have just been steady right there, running 5th, 6th, 7th all day long. Rudiman pitted early on a different strategy than Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave. How about the number 88, Matt Crafton? He's had a good run. He's in 8th, Krista.
Yes, he has, Ray. Matt Crafton, also one of the guys who pitted early, and he has had very good luck at the short tracks we've had. Of course, he finished 3rd in Martinsville, so he knew he was going to have a good truck. I talked to him earlier in the weekend, and he said as long as he could get down on the bottom a little bit in 3 and 4, maybe take out a couple trucks, pick one off at a time and pass a few, he felt like he'd be very good. Matt Crafton eager to get this thing back under green.
And you know what's neat about this, guys? Matt Crafton's team, his owner, right here in Ohio, Jack Sprague running in 2nd, right here, native Ohio. So it's neat to see these two guys running in the top 10, guys right from Ohio.
Did you mention Jack Sprague's owner, Jeff Weiler, from Ohio?
Owns a bunch of car dealerships, I understand, up here. Looks like we're getting ready to go back to green.
Randy Kaiser took the pace truck back into the infield. And so now it's all in the hands of Ron Hornaday. And again, we mentioned a year ago, Ron Hornaday had led 119 laps. He was penalized for jumping the restart. I don't believe we're going to see him even come close to jumping a restart.
Well, remember, a lot of people said last year they thought it was because Bobby Hamilton, who was running 2nd, didn't go.
Yeah.
And it made it look so bad.
And we saw the restart line right there. So next time a restart comes, I'm sure Ron knows where that line is. Once again, he can easily pull away from the 60 truck right here. And pull away by 2 truck lengths only. That's not a lot, but it is. When you short track race, 2 truck lengths is quite a substantial amount.
On the last restarts, what we've seen is Ron Hornaday, Jack Sprague, and David Starr pull away from the rest of the field. We're seeing it again. Hornaday, Sprague, and Starr separating themselves from 4th.
I really think those 3 trucks right there are fairly equal. Whoever has the lead, I think, would be able to maintain the lead. As you see, Ted Musgrave gets another spot from Augie Vidovich right there. That moves Ted up in the 18th position. But we got 35 laps to go. Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave are going to run out of time. They're not going to get back to the front of this field, and they may not even get back to the top 10.
Which will be amazing because Ted Musgrave has finished in the top 5 in every race so far this year. Very consistent runs for him, but this time pit strategy has definitely caused him to be behind the 8 ball.
That's right, but we've got to think about these 3 trucks. So there's Ted Musgrave right there. There's Todd right there, 2 spots in front of him. That's the 77 of Brendan Gaughan in between them. Todd's been behind the 25 of Boston Reed, it seems like, for 40 or 50 laps, not quite able to get by. That doesn't mean Boston Reed's not having a good run. He is running well. We saw him pass Bobby Hamilton Jr. A little contact. We watched David Starr out of a corner of our eye get a little contact, and there comes Johnny Benson, gets a spot.
Benson goes by the 12 of Joey Miller, so that moves him up into 4th. Now, the real race is for 2nd. We're seeing Jack Sprague and David Starr each time by. Oh, and problems in turn 4. It's Bill Lester getting spun around as the leaders come into turn 4. Bill Lester was up there up against the wall. That is a tying of the record of cautions.
Well, we still have around 30 odd laps to go. But you know what I'm noticing, Phil? The groove, the drivers, you know, they're all pretty smart. They're all running the groove where they go, like you said, move into the bottom, move the truck up. In turn, that takes that outside groove away, that run on the outside. It also takes the groove on the bottom. So in turn, you can't just roll the corner like you could in the past with the other tire.
We saw Bill Lester try to run in on the bottom of somebody and lose the back end and spin out the caution before this.
Yeah.
Let's watch Johnny Benson make this pass right here. That's Joey Miller, the 12.
Johnny has been racing him, Phil, for the longest time. Really a good move here. Just eases him up out of the way. Typical short track, coming off of turn 4, makes the pass for 4th. Now, Johnny's starting to assert himself. Hey, I'm here too, guys.
Watch that while that was happening, Jimmy, down here in turn 3 and 4. Watch the 11 of David Starr. He goes to the inside, but slides up, runs in the back of the 60. He actually hit him too late to move him out of the way. But I don't think that was his intention. It wasn't his intention to move him out of the way. That might have been his intention to move him out of the way. He wants to get by. He knows if he doesn't get by the 60 of Jack Sprague, he's got no shot at Ron Hornaday, and he's running out of laps. There's only 30 laps to go.
Very true, Phil. And the thing is that we've already heard Tony first say, okay, I'll relay the message. Ray has said he hasn't heard nothing on the radio. I don't blame Jack Sprague. Hey, I'm second place. 35, 40 to go, 50 to go. I'm not moving over and giving it to you. You got to take it off of me.
I don't want a crew chief that's going to tell me to move over and let the guy in third.
I don't want a driver, Phil, to say, hey, all right, I'll move over and give him second spot and see if he can do it. No. I believe this is racing at its finest. That's why the Craftsman Truck Series is so exciting racing.
Aaron's lucky dog going to Scott Lagasse Jr. We've given out quite a few of those. This is our 16th caution so far today.
Does this tie the all-time record?
This ties the all-time record right there.
Michael would have a lot of fun with that lucky dog today.
Imagine that. You talk about Michael. Well, Monday, 7 Eastern on Speed. You can go inside Nextel Cup with that team.
There's the break. Ron Hornaday doesn't jump it. Green flag waves again.
Green flag is out. Ron Hornaday in front of Jack Sprague and the 11 of David Starr. How long will David Starr allow Jack Sprague to hold him up, or will he move him and try to get behind Ron Hornaday?
The thing you bring up, Point Rick, now is that now you've got Johnny Benson. He's going to start breathing on David Starr's neck. Now all at once, that's going to make it that much more difficult for David to make the pass on Jack.
And we can see that Joey Miller was holding up Johnny Benson because Johnny Benson is able to keep up with David Starr. So now we've got 4 trucks that are moving away.
That's why Joey Miller should have no beef with Johnny Benson, because there was a gap. We talk about the gap. There was a gap in front of Joey Miller. You got to know that you're going to feel it on the rear bumper when you have a gap in front of you.
I think you bring a good point up, Phil. And Joey's also driving a good, smart race. Didn't panic, still in 5th place with less than 25 laps to go. So he could have a solid run, his best of the year.
Hornaday, Sprague, Starr, and Benson. Those 4 trucks right now battling for the win. There's only 25 laps to go. Can you get by Ron Hornaday in those last 25 laps?
I believe Ron Hornaday, me racing with him last year, and I believe Ron Hornaday is one of the toughest competitors in all of motorsports. And he will be a tough cookie to pass right here, especially getting later and later in this race.
Doesn't make mistakes, is that right?
He doesn't
make track?
He doesn't make very few mistakes. We all make mistakes, but I think he is less likely to make them.
It doesn't appear as though the 60 of Jack Sprague has enough muscle to get by Ron Hornaday, but there's Augie Vidovich right here. That's Ted Musgrave, the Toyota right in front of him, the Team SC Toyota. He is all over the Orleans Dodge of Brendan Gaughan, trying to get by him for the 17th position.
Trying to get positions, and the caution has come out again. Aaron Crocker turns in 3 and 4. That will bring out our record-setting 17th caution. Closing in on the last laps of this race. 20 laps to go in Mansfield. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed is presented by Scotts, Ortho's season-long grass and weed killer. One application kills and prevents weeds all season. Brought to you in part by Ford, Bold Moves, and by Valvoline. Tested on the track, trusted on the road. Last week, the racing family got together to support Bobby Hamilton and raised over $50,000 for the American Cancer Society and the Victory Junction Gang Camp at the Craftsman for a Cure event.
We teamed up with Bobby Hamilton Racing and through this event, our first year event, and hopefully it won't be our last. So.
It's a big thing that we're all trying to help out and get raise money and get awareness of this.
They could all be here hanging out with their favorite drivers, and they can see them up close. You can talk to them about everything. When one of our friends or family gets, an ankle sprained or whatever, the whole support team is there.
Sooner or later, maybe we can kind of get some really good cures for this. But right now, we're just all rallying together, and hope Bobby's doing very well, and have a little bit of a fun day, raise some money for everybody involved in this here.
Restart here in Mansfield. Ron Hornaday with a good start, and Bill Lester on the inside of David Starr, making it a little more difficult for him to get back up to speed. But it is Hornaday, Sprague, Starr, and Johnny Benson, your top 4.
Laps are really winding down now. Less than 17 laps to go, Phil.
Yeah, the 88 of Matt Crafton was on the outside of Joey Miller. Joey got a poor restart. It allowed Matt Crafton to get the outside, but Joey was able to beat him off turn 4 and get the spot back. Here's Mike Bliss looking to the outside of Dennis Setzer. Dennis is not going to give up that outside. There's no way Dennis Setzer's going to give up the outside, but Mike Bliss looks like he's trying to get up there anyway.
Trying it again.
You got to keep trying. That's the groove. Oh, there's the
problem. Skinner gets spun around because Todd Bodine got into the side of him.
Right into the side of him. The thing is here, guys, I think we'll have a good replay. I know we've got the greatest cameramen there is. This looks like the 99 truck moves up in front of Skinner. Skinner tries to come down, and him and Todd get together. I think it was just a racing incident, typical short track.
Well, as typical short track, well, we've got another caution. And you're right, we do have the best cameraman, Jim.
There it is there. The 5 truck was trying to clear the Scott's truck. Oh, by the way, I do use Scott's lawn care service.
Good.
But here's another great look from our camera crew. What we're seeing here is they're coming off the corner. The 99 gets a little loose. Skinner tries to go below him. Todd's already there. Just a typical running out of room on the short track.
Just going for the same spot at the same time. Mike Skinner saw an opportunity to get by maybe the 99 of Eric Darnell, who was seized up while he was racing with Rick Crawford. Turned down, and Todd was already there. Todd had already committed to the inside, and around, unfortunately, Mike Skinner went.
You know, the big thing, though, is that with a situation like that, it's tough on you that late in the race.
We had touched a little bit before this last caution came out about the Craftsman for a Cure event that took place last week. We ride along with Bobby Hamilton Jr., who has stepped into that truck for his dad, who is fighting head and neck cancer right now. Again, over $50,000 raised for the American Cancer Society, the Victory Junction Gang Camp. A great event. What a family effort that NASCAR has involved themselves with.
You know, we're all thinking about Bobby Hamilton. Everybody in this entire racing community is thinking about Bobby and pulling for Bobby. And we know what a fighter Bobby is. So we know that he's going to beat this thing. But we just want everyone to know that Bobby Hamilton is a fighter, and we're pulling for him.
You know, I think the guys, you know, once Bobby brought that point up, that this fraternity of drivers and crew members is very tight. Let's go down to Ray.
Hey, Jimmy, let's talk about the 33 of Ron Hornaday just a little bit. It's been 28 races since he last won at Atlanta last spring. Now, Stacy Johnson is the crew chief for Hornaday, but these guys really have had a tough season. Of course, they did get a top 5 at Charlotte last week, but up until then, it's been a rough year. So what did they do? Yesterday, they brought in Todd Berrier and Wally Rogers. Kevin Harvick says, get those guys up here and let's get this 33 truck worked out. This has really been a group effort from everybody at Kevin Harvick Racing to get this truck better. And they said this weekend they felt like they finally brought a piece to the racetrack that Hornaday can compete with, and I guess that's pretty obvious. They've done just that. But a nice shout out to Todd Berrier and Wally Rogers, who are back in Charlotte ready to go Cup and Busch racing, helping out Hornaday here in the trucks.
Last time Ron Hornaday found victory lane was last year in Atlanta, and what an exciting win that was. He knows about exciting wins, and this one could be another one with Jack Sprague right on his bumper.
What's interesting, give Deanna and Kevin a lot of credit. That truck, no sponsor, still supporting the Craftsman Truck Series. Here we go. Green flag waves again.
Another good restart for Ron Hornaday. It wasn't a jump. It was a good restart.
Come on now, Rick. He's not making that mistake. He knows he's got it in his grasp. He had the truck last year to win. He isn't going to make that mistake this year.
Almost 3 truck links between himself and Jack Sprague as they go down the backstretch. Out of turn 4 now. This time by 10 laps of racing to go for Ron Hornaday, looking for his 28th win in the Craftsman Truck Series.
You know what, Phil, what impresses me right now is the strength of Hornaday's truck, the smoothness, how he's exiting the corners. No tire spin, just straight as an arrow.
You know, I was talking to Stacy Johnson, who's a competition director down there for Ron Hornaday's team, and he said, as Ray mentioned, that Todd Berrier and Wally Rogers came in yesterday. They completely changed the front geometry on this truck yesterday, and look what happened here. You got the best truck on the racetrack right now.
We almost had 3 wide and 3 and 4 there as some of the trucks got side by side. But really right now it's Ron Hornaday's race to lose. He's got Mike Skinner in between himself and Jack Sprague, and so Ron Hornaday right now on cruise control out in front of this one.
Yeah, you know, the thing is right now with this last caution, he has really got clear racetrack. There's no reason in the world. He's hitting his marks just as strong as ever. He is a tough competitor.
This is the biggest lead we've seen this entire race for anybody. David Starr is all over the back of Jack Sprague. He knows he's got to get by Jack Sprague and maybe hopefully catch a caution to get close up right on this bumper.
Well, we've seen David Starr win a green-white checkered at St. Louis not long ago with that situation. Now, where is the 30 and 9? Here we go.
Well, they're back in 15th and 16th. So not enough laps to get up to the front. 5 laps of racing to go. And Mike Skinner moves out of the way for Jack Sprague. Now, Jack Sprague will try to close in the gap, but very few laps left in this one, Phil.
Yeah, Jack Sprague is not going to catch him. We got to see if David Starr can get by Jack Sprague.
He's working him, Phil. I'm telling you, he is really working him. And as he's trying, he can't get the grip he needs on that bottom of the racetrack. We're running out of time for him.
David Starr, will he move Jack Sprague out of the way to take second away from Sprague? Sprague goes high, Starr comes low. They're almost side by side coming out of 4. It almost looked like Jack Sprague made a mistake there.
But look, and then I looked down there, it looked like Ron Hornaday was slow through the middle of that corner for some reason. I wonder if there was something on the racetrack. But whatever the case may be, Ron Hornaday still has a 1-second lead. Now David Starr is going to work that rear bumper.
2 laps of racing to go. Ron Hornaday goes by the start-finish line. Jack Sprague in second. David Starr in third. Johnny Benson fourth. And rounding out the top 5, Joey Miller.
It's been over a year since Ron Hornaday's been in victory lane.
This time by, the white flag will fly for Ron Hornaday. Jack Sprague, David Starr fighting for second.
This is an awesome race. No way, unless Hornaday breaks, is he going to lose. Close to it. Oh my goodness, we're going to have it here.
We're going to have a spin on the front stretch, but it will be too late. The checkered flag will fly. Ron Hornaday wins in Mansfield.
I got all confused there. It was so exciting at the end, but what a great job by Jack Sprague holding off that persistent pressure from David Starr.
David Starr was right up beside him. If this race was 1 lap longer, he may have done something with him.
On the back stretch, Ron Hornaday being congratulated by Jack Sprague. And really, it's something I think those two have gotten so familiar with. Jack Sprague just came down, bumped Ron, said, hey, nice job. Good race. You won this time.
How about our Germain duo? 15th and 16th for the Germains.
There it is. Watch
that
this.
congratulatory.
I'm going to give you a little
Jack's
bump.
like, hey, nice job. David Starr, the same thing. What a great run for David Starr. Boy, I tell you what, great racing on these short tracks.
You know what? Let's tip our hat. What an awesome amount of respect for Jack Sprague, David Starr, Benson getting fourth, Joey Miller, what a great job. Matt Crafton coming home sixth. Those guys just really respected one another the utmost. We saw a great finish. We saw a great race all day long.
There's the Kevin Harvick Incorporated, the KHI team up on the wall.
We're going to see a heck of a burnout, I feel.
They want to celebrate with their driver.
Here comes the horn. He's going to get the flag.
Ron's going for the checkered flag. He'll grab that. Now the fans here in Mansfield have seen another great one.
And Hornaday, once again, we talked earlier, he lost this race last year, guys, for a restart. Today, he did not make that race. Then he hits the fence.
Ron Hornaday celebrating, just went ahead and bumped into the wall.
Got all the front brakes in and all that he can have.
Well, Chevy congratulates Ron Hornaday and the number 33 Chevy Silverado team on today's big win. No trucks dominated the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series like the Chevy Silverado. Chevy, the winningest name in racing, an American revolution. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is presented by Craftsman. Chris Devoda is in Victory Lane with Ron Hornaday.
A very special Victory Lane celebration for Ron Hornaday. That's because it's been way too long. As we said, over a year since Ron Hornaday's been able to celebrate a Craftsman Truck Series win. Even longer since it was at a short track. That was 1999. He's doing a little celebrating, and he definitely deserves it. This was a big win for you, a big win for Chevrolet. It's been a long time, and you have had a disappointing start of the season. What does this mean?
Well, right here, Amy Mishler, we lost her last Saturday. And I'll tell you what, all them guys, Rick Corelli, Stacy Johnson, and then have Wally and Todd come up here yesterday and just give me an awesome Chevrolet truck, and the way it ran, flawless. Pretty cool. I know a couple guys are probably mad at me. I was clean under Jack, and he had the whole upper groove, and that's where I needed to be, and he cut down. So he started beating on the side of me down the straightaway, but you know what? Short track racing, we would have qualified, we would have been up there, but I got to thank Kevin Delana. Thank you, dude. Hopefully this changes, everything turns around. Sorry, guys, body guys, you're back to work again, but, you know, TJ Clark lost his son, and my hearts and prayers go out to everybody, and especially Amy. You know, she's the pin of the shop, arranging everywhere we got to go, but we did it, Wally, Stacy, everybody, thanks, guys. Good job at the shop.
Well, in this race, too, going into, I mean, you knew you needed redemption after what happened last year. Last week in Charlotte, it wasn't just your first top 10, it was your first top 5. This is huge for this team. Does this mean this team is back in contention?
Wait, yeah. We put ourselves in such a hole right now, you know, with carburetor shaft bust and just stupid things. This team never says die, and I'll tell you what, I got to thank Kevin Delana, Rick Corelli, and everybody at the shop who never stops and puts these guys together. I mean, I've got some awesome young kids who just want to learn week after week, and yeah, hopefully this is not the end of it. These guys, I mean, last week was awesome, just track position. This week, it didn't matter. They gave me a fast Silverado, and I'm pretty happy.
He is definitely happy. His 28th win in the series, Ray?
Well, Krista, over the years, we've seen so many great battles between Jack Sprague and Hornaday. Another good one today. 7th time in your career you finished second, but I assume you're pretty happy with your truck.
I am. I mean, the guys did a great job. I didn't anticipate having a truck that good when the race started. I figured I had about a 10th place truck. The sun came out, played in my advantage. I like slippery racetrack. Conway Freight Toyota was pretty good. I was a little free in, but on long runs, it'd get hooked up and I could catch Hornaday. Then for some reason at the end, Skinner decided he needed to be between us, which I have no clue what he was doing. That's like old days too. So, but hey, second's good. I mean, that's the best run we've had this year, finish-wise. We needed that after the disaster we had at Charlotte. So I just want to say hi to my daughter, Paige. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. And thank all my sponsors, Conway Bicycle, Articat, D&D. Let's see who we got. You don't talk to me much, so you ain't leaving.
Well, okay, I know there's lots of sponsors here. That's good.
We got Valvoline, Bosch, Exide Batteries, Huntington, TRD.
We got them all on. 34 times in his career, Jack Sprague has finished second. One more today here at Mansfield.
Very class act between not only Ron Hornaday and Jack Sprague, but all the veterans of this series. And you see Jack Sprague saying, hey, buddy, you did it again. 28 wins for Ron Hornaday in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is brought to you by Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears. Continues to celebrate in Victory Lane. Coming up next, NASCAR Nextel Cup practice here on Speed. Really classy act between Ron Hornaday and Jack Sprague. Here's Jack Sprague moments ago coming up and saying, hey, buddy, nice win. I know you're getting interviewed, but what a great race. Look at the unofficial results. Ron Hornaday, Jack Sprague, 1 and 2 again.
Another great run by David Starr. Joey Miller with a top 5, his first top 10 of the year. Matt Crafton with another top 10. And Steve Park with a top 10 in Jim Harris's Dodge.
Eric Darnell back in 13th.
Yeah, Timothy Peters started 34th and finishes 11th. That's a good run.
Eric Crocker a lap down. Boy, she really, really fought hard today, though. One guy who struggled to get back through the field was a guy who pitted late. That's Ted Musgrave. He's with Ray.
Hey, Ted, you guys came in at about the halfway point. All the guys who finished in the top 5 pitted earlier. Was it a bad strategy today?
Yeah, I guess. You just can't pass at this racetrack. There's no racing going on. The only way you can do it is cause a caution, crash somebody, and then cautions, put in laps under caution flag, and there's no racing going on then. So terrible, just terrible racetrack here. They need to cut it, grind it up, and redo it if you want to come back. But yeah, you can't get back to the front. So we'll try again next week.
All right, that's Ted Musgrave in the ASE Toyota.
Well, Ted Musgrave holds on to second in the point standings, even though a 16th place finish today. Todd Bodine still up in front, 100 points back. David Rudiman in third, David Starr fourth. So a pretty good day for Starr. Johnny Benson takes over the 5th position. That was held by Terry Cook coming into this race.
Yeah, Terry dropped 4 spots down to 9th. He gained 5 last week to 5th. He dropped 4 this week to 9th.
Well, Ted Musgrave blames the track a little bit for his woes today as not being able to pass, but there are a few passes made early, but it came down to pit strategy. Who pitted earliest and had the best track position was able to hold on and win, and that was the 33 of Ron Hornaday. We're back at Dover next week, next Friday, 8 o'clock, so tune in, see if Kyle Busch can defend his race win. It's Ron Hornaday from Mansfield.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support.